Chapter 409, 9 Types of Heaven Flames. Chapter 409, 9 Types of Heaven Flames. Shi Yang didn't say anything, but just smiled and stretched out his hand. The blood vein ring shot out bloodlight, and the incoming earth flame disappeared into his blood vein ring. At the same time, the ice-cold flame also went into the blood vein ring. That's the burning power of the sun-refined spirit. Zhao Feng's eyes reflected the hot flames, looking at Shi Yang with surprise. Kid, didn't I feel it wrong? Yes, it does have the burning power of the sun-refined spirit, Shi Yang nodded. For those who use the sun power to cultivate, the power of the sun-refined spirit is the most precious treasure. If I can use the sun-refined spirit to cultivate, I think my martial technique will have a great breakthrough. Zhao Feng shot out a sharp look. If I can use the sun-refined spirit, my comprehension will be more profound, and perhaps I will enter the spirit realm. Shi Yang slightly smiled and shook his head. It belongs to me. If possible, I want to borrow it to cultivate later. I don't need the sun-refined spirit energy. I only need to observe it a bit closer to find the traits of the power being released from the sun-refined spirit, and how the fiery flame burns. Is it okay? Zhao Feng laid his eyes on Shi Yang with a begging look and a longing face. Shi Yang knitted his eyebrows, hesitated a little bit and then said, if only that's the deal, then no problem. Zhao Feng was overjoyed and burst into laughter. What is that bunch of burning fire after all? Li Yu couldn't help but ask. Well, just see it as a new heaven flame which comes from a 10,000-year-old volcano that was lucky enough to absorb the sun-refined spirit. Right now, I don't know how great its potential is, but if we say the heaven flames are required to have consciousness, then it should be a heaven flame, Shi Yang explained. Heaven flame? Zhao Feng, Li Yu, and even Cai looked at him with astonished faces. I have heard that there are a total of 9 heaven flames existing in this world. Adding this one would make it 10. Zhao Feng sighed. The legend about the heaven flames has been circulated in the divine Great Land, but people who have a heaven flame are extremely rare. Each type of heaven flames has its unique effect and its own mysterious force that makes people envy. You're very lucky to have it. Do you know what the 9 types are? Shi Yang's heart moved slightly while he pretended to ask. He had also heard rumors about the heaven flames. It was said that, in this world, there were a total of 9 types of heaven flames, and there were also rankings among them. However, be it in the quiet cloud or the endless sea, no one seemed to know what types these 9 heaven flames were. Zhao Feng and Li Yu came from the divine Great Land, which was the gathering center of all warriors. Warriors who knew about these 9 types of heaven flames could only come from the divine Great Land. Primal Chaos Sacred Fire, World-Extinguishing Thunder Flame, 9 Serenities Soul-Devouring Flame, Immemorial Demonic Flame, Purgatory True Flame, Yin Spirit Ghost Flame, Vermilion Bird True Flame, Ice-Cold Flame and Vanishing Corpse Flame. Zhao Feng's eyes brightened while speaking. These 9 types of heaven flame are the names we already know. The mysteries of these 9 heaven flames have been spread in our divine Great Land. However, we still don't know what magical effects these 9 heaven flames have. Perhaps, only those who possess the heaven flames can know their magical effects as well as their threats. Primal Chaos Sacred Fire, World-Extinguishing Thunder Flame, 9 Serenities Soul-Devouring Flame, Immemorial Demonic Flame, Purgatory True Flame, Yin Spirit Ghost Flame, Vermilion Bird True Flame, Ice-Cold Flame and Vanishing Corpse Flame. Shi Yang murmured while his eyes also slowly lit up. Primal Chaos Sacred Flame is ranked first, and the Vanishing Corpses Flame is ranked last. Each type of heaven flame seems to be able to integrate with the warriors. Once warriors can fuse with the heaven flames, they are able to obtain much more than just their power. Zhao Feng looked at him enviously. Previously, the ice-cold flame had been on Shi Yang's chest. When the earth flame entered the blood vein ring, because its burning power was too strong and also the fact that the ice-cold flame had been trying to reduce its power, other people didn't know that the icy light column was actually the ice-cold flame, one of the 9 heaven flames. If they knew the ice-cold flame and the 9 Serenities Soul-Devouring Flame were both here, Shi Yang wondered how surprised they would be. Shi Yang already got what he wanted to know, so he stopped asking about the heaven flames. He smiled and looked at Zhao Feng and the others. How was your harvest up there? Zhao Feng held a happy face and excitedly said, "We have 4 secret treasures which are all sacred level ones. 3 of them are of the 1st grade of the sacred level, and the remaining one is of the 3rd grade of the sacred level. Ha ha ha, this is really a good harvest. Even in the divine Great Land, secret treasures are very rare. Only a few important people of the powerful parties can have the 3rd grade of sacred level secret treasures." Ha ha ha. Getting to the exciting part, Zhao Feng couldn't help but burst out laughing. The secret treasures that blacksmiths created were divided into 5 levels: mortal level, mystery level, profound level, sacred level, and god level. Each level was divided into 7 grades. The 1st grade was the lowest and the 7th grade was the best. As Zhao Feng got a 3rd grade sacred level secret treasure this time, no wonder he was so excited. "How about you?" Shi Yang looked as Kai Xiao and Cai Yi. 2 pieces of 1st grade sacred level secret treasures. Kai Xiao smiled, took out a silver dagger, raised it up and said, "I have this." Although Kai Xiao looked calm, his eyes were extremely excited. Since he could get the secret treasures in the dark magnetic noxious mist this time, once his mind connected with it, his strength would be greatly improved. With this sacred level secret treasure, Kai Xiao could become the strongest member of the Fire Empire, the God-blessed Empire, and the supreme warrior in the Quiet Cloud. Thus, he was obviously very happy. Not bad, Shi Yang constantly nodded. "Where is the other one?" "In my hand." Cai Yi chuckled, but didn't take out the secret treasure from her storage ring. However, she also looked very satisfied. "I'm quite lucky. It was unexpected that I could harvest something in the dark magnetic noxious mist this time." Laro Li and Laro Lun both revealed a trace of envy and complained that their luck was not good, as they couldn't harvest anything. "Kid, should we leave here or not?" Zhao Feng realized that there was no one left in the ancient city, and thus, he was a little anxious. "The others have left already, probably to go to the other exotic lands. We should also go soon. Hopefully, we can harvest the god soul. If we are too late, we will not get anything." "You know the direction?" Shi Yang asked in astonishment. Zhao Feng hauled out a compass which was similar to the one Rya had and raised it up. "The Spirit Treasure Sect has forged this stuff. It can identify the direction of any area, so we will not be lost if we have it." "That's good." Shi Yang's eyes brightened while he beamed a smile. "If so, we can go now. How about you?" Zhao Feng looked at Kai Xiao, Cai Yi, and the others. "Are you going with us?" As Kai Xiao and Cai Yi got the secret treasures, their confidence had been increased significantly. Thus, they nodded readily. The 2 brothers hadn't harvested anything, but still hoped to be able to get something in another exotic land. Obviously, they would not give up midway. Therefore, they nodded, indicating that they would also go with them. Zhao Feng actually didn't want to be on the same team with them. However, in consideration for Shi Yang, he didn't say anything. He took out the compass to identify the direction, and then said to Shi Yang, "You guys follow us. The other exotic land is quite far from here. It will take a maximum of 2 days to get there." "Good," Shi Yang nodded. Zhao Feng and Li Yu exchanged glances, assigning something for their warriors who kept up with them. After that, they led the way, flying out. Since the Heaven Gate had exploded, everything here restored to its normal state. Even the divine thunder which had covered outside also disappeared. Shi Yang used to worry about the divine thunder before. Anyway, his profound chi had been consumed by half, and if the divine thunder were still outside, he would have to use the power of the sky-breaking shuttle to break through. By that time, his profound chi would be drained completely, and if he encountered danger, it would be difficult for him. Although Kai Xiao and Cai Yi had a profound cultivation base, he didn't want to lay his life in someone else's hands. Therefore, he would have to spend some time first to use the demon crystals to restore his profound chi before leaving. Without the divine thunder outside, he didn't have to be that cautious. He flew up to the sky together with Kai Xiao and the others, catching up with Zhao Feng's group. Half a day later, Zhao Feng's group encountered a flock of level 6 beasts above a mountain. However, it didn't take them long to wipe those beasts out. Since the warriors in Zhao Feng's team had quite low realms, Their profound qi had been consumed significantly. Zhao Feng had to stop to let them rest for a while, using the demon crystals to restore their profound qi. Shi Yang took this opportunity to haul out the demon crystals inside his storage ring and restored his profound qi together with Kai Xiao, Zhuo Shu, and Zhuo Shi. The three people of Kai Xiao's group were quite poor before. With Shi Yang's support, they could now have enough demon crystals to restore their profound qi. These three people had drained a lot of their profound qi on the way, and were in a situation where they had no more demon crystals. However, after the fight in the ancient city, they had got some demon crystals from some dead warriors, and Shi Yang had also given them some more. Therefore, they now had enough demon crystals to use. Entering the sky realm, Shi Yang's ancient profound qi tree seemed to grow double or so. As he was restoring the profound qi, his progress speed was apparently slowed down. When he and Kai Xiao restored the profound qi, it would take quite a lot of time. Even after the warriors in Zhao Feng's team had fully restored their profound qi, Shi Yang and Kai Xiao were still using demon crystals to restore their profound qi. As Zhao Feng knew that he would rely on Shi Yang a lot in the future, he didn't urge him to hurry. Instead, together with Li Yu and the others, he waited for Shi Yang and Kai Xiao to stand up and then continued the trip, going to another strange land. Their trip was much easier as they didn't encounter any beast this time. 2 days later, they finally arrived at another exotic land. The outskirts of this exotic land had thick, grey smoke hovering. However, there was no divine thunder inside that smoke to rock Shi Yang's mind. Following Zhao Feng's team, Shi Yang, Kai Xiao, Cai Yi, and the others also descended in this strange land. Chapter 410, The Abnormal Underground. Chapter 410, The Abnormal Underground. This was a small island, with ancient green trees and blossoming flowers everywhere. The aura of heaven and earth was vibrant on this island. Different from other regions in the dark magnetic noxious mist, the periphery of this island was full of smoke hovering around, but there was none inside the island. All that people could see was towering old trees, which were incredibly dense, covering the sky. Like a paradise, this place didn't have any beasts either, making them relax and feel that cultivating here would be very comfortable. Shi Yang's team went through the fog and landed. Afterward, they quietly released their soul consciousness and then immediately realized that their soul consciousness wasn't restricted. When their soul consciousness spread out, various dynamic living activities in the island could instantly be reflected in their sea of consciousness. Nobody's here. Zhao Feng had a cultivation base of third sky of sky realm. He released his soul consciousness, which had soon enveloped the entire island. But there was no trace of any life. A place with dense heaven and earth aura and verdant blossoming flowers like this should not be this empty. The warriors from the divine great land were certain that there was a part of warriors who had come here to find the existence of the god soul. Those should have spread out their soul consciousness to find the abnormality on the island, as well as possible opportunities. Kai Xiao, Li Yu, and others were wearing doubtful faces. They also released their soul consciousness, but got nothing either. It's not right, Shi Yang frowned, there must be something strange here. Otherwise, some warriors should be here. If we can come here, the others certainly can too. If we can spread out our soul consciousness, the other warriors also can. So basically, when we land here, we should immediately be detected. It's impossible that no soul consciousnesses are exploring the area. Everyone should be careful. I don't think this place is normal. Perhaps, it's even more dangerous than the previous exotic land. Zhao Feng's face darkened. Everyone gather in one place. Don't scatter. We are going to the center of the island together, and explore it a bit. Everyone nodded and gathered. Towering trees expanded all over the island. With a quick look, this island was totally covered with dense forests. Those old trees would limit the vision of those walking in these forests, and they would not be able to see far. Shi Yang's team was slowly moving deeper into the island. They were not anxious, just paying attention to everything in the surroundings. As long as there were any signs of trouble, they would carefully observe them. Thump thump. Dull sounds resonated from under their feet. A vibration came up from deep under the ground of the island. The vibration frequency was slow, but it seemed to rush straight to the human mind. Thump, thump, thump. Everyone's heart gradually beat faster. The tremor from underneath the island seemed to be able to drive the heartbeat, making the hearts of those people pound faster and faster. What? Zhao Feng's eyes glinted with a bunch of strange light. Do you guys all feel it? Everyone's faces were solemn. They all nodded. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and said with a grave face, I think there exists something abnormal underground. We should be careful. If our heartbeat reaches a certain speed, we'll probably get crazy. The faster the heartbeat is, the more influence it will have on our judgment and reasoning, making us too nervous and dominating our emotions. After pausing for a while, Zhao Feng looked at Shi Yang and said, especially you. Shi Yang was a little embarrassed as he gently nodded. Don't worry. I had reasons to have lost my mind before. I will not suddenly lose my mind again. The impact I have this time should be consistent with yours. Who has a soul consciousness that can penetrate into the subterranean ground? Li Yu hesitated for a while before her face slightly changed, as she seemed to realize something. My soul consciousness cannot even go 10 zhongs underground. There seem to be some barriers inside the ground of this island that prevent the soul consciousness from penetrating. After hearing what she said, everyone else immediately sent their soul consciousness into the ground to verify her words. Shi Yang's soul consciousness also suddenly dashed to the ground. However, when it reached the depth of only 5 zhongs, it encountered obstacles. With the barrier that prevented soul consciousness from penetrating underground, they seemed to have countless ropes tying their soul consciousness up. The deeper it drilled down, the stronger the pulling force was. After reluctantly spreading out to the depth of 6 zhongs, Shi Yang had released all of his soul consciousness and couldn't penetrate even a centimeter further. I can affirm that. Zhao Feng solemnly looked at everyone and said, if nothing unexpected happens, I'm sure this island's abnormality should be in the center of the earth. So, we should look for the entrance to go there. I think that if there are other warriors, and they should be in the center of the earth. If they can go down there, we also can. Well, there must be an entrance. While talking, Cai Yi took out a sapphire bangle from her storage ring. As soon as the bangle emerged in her palm, it immediately shed 3 columns of azure light, which penetrated straight down into the ground, piercing the earth's barriers all the way downward. Cai Yi slowly closed her eyes while tightly holding the bangle. When the 3 light columns struck straight to the ground, Cai Yi knitted her eyebrows tightly as she seemed to sense something serious. Half a day later, her graceful body suddenly trembled. She then opened her eyes and said with surprise, somebody is fighting down there. Everyone was shocked. This sapphire bangle is from an exotic land. During the past 2 days, I've sensed carefully and realized that my sapphire bangle could detect different energies. When these 3 azure light columns penetrated the earth earlier, they realized that at least 10 different kinds of energy are competing. It's obvious that there must be a variety of warriors engaging in the battle. Cai Yi held the sapphire bangle while calmly explaining to everyone. Those people underground should have realized something already. Otherwise, they would not have been fighting now. Zhao Feng grinned. It seems that those people have met some sacred-level secret treasures, and they are fighting each other only because of those treasures. Our guess is right. The strange things of this island are all underground. Look for the entrance. Shi Yang cracked a smile out of the corner of his mouth, separate to seek. It looks like there's no danger in this island. Everyone scatter and shout when you find it. Although this island is not small, if we spread out, it'll be easy to find the entrance. Scatter, Zhao Feng instructed his people from the Divine Radiant cult, and then flew away first towards the center of the island. Cai Yi, Kai Xiao, the 2 brothers also spread out as per Shi Yang's order. Shi Yang didn't move yet, just standing still on his spot. 7 people from the Divine Radiant cult, Cai Yi, Kai Xiao, and the 2 brothers had divided into 3 directions. With many people like this, it should not take long to search the entire island. Even if he didn't put any effort into this, he still could enjoy the result. That was why he was this leisurely. Zhuoshu and Zhuoshe were about to scatter to search for the entrance, but as they saw him stay back, they were stunned for a moment and also stood still. Grandfather Zhuo, after this thing, you should return to the Merchant Union. Shi Yang contemplated for a while and then suddenly said with a solemn face, "Don't get back to the endless sea. Although I am not sure how the current situation is right now, I'm certain that the endless sea is very chaotic. Since I left the endless sea, demon dwellers of the fourth demon area should have massively invaded the endless sea. It has been such a long time, so I think perhaps the dark dwellers and the demon dwellers have come to the endless sea together. If you take that way, you will obviously encounter dangers." Zuoshu's face changed slightly. He said with fright, "Demon dwellers? Dark dwellers?" Shi Yang nodded. "Isn't it said that these two alien races have disappeared from the Grace mainland? In the Merchant Union, there are some ancient legends about the existence of these two races. However, we have never seen any of them. Have they actually come to the endless sea?" "They are in the endless sea now? Yes, everyone living there is in tragedy. These two races have killed a large number of warriors. The Kiara Sea and the Hengluo Sea are now covered with corpses. Many civilians have also been affected. It's impossible to tell everything in just a few words." Talking about the endless sea, Shi Yang also felt very depressed. Since he left the endless sea, he knew that the Great Race War would break out. Cao Qiu Dao of the Cao family and Yang Yi Tian of the Martial Spirit Palace were two powerful persons. If the two of them united, together with other forces in the endless sea, it would be hard to say who would win given the situation that the demon dwellers and the dark dwellers didn't come to the endless sea at the same time. There was one thing he was sure, that this war would not easily end soon. After the Yang family hid in the fourth demon area, there was no news from them. Although Kai Yang said that Yang Tian Emperor was dead, Shi Yang always felt that the said person could not easily die like this. Yang Tian Emperor was the most famous outstanding warrior in the endless sea, who was also extremely wise. He should have some support. When the Yangs were there and fighting in the endless sea, he had to go back. The more chaotic the area was, the easier it was for him to enhance his cultivation through the mysterious martial spirit. He had reached the sky realm, so he needed a lot of profound qi to make a breakthrough. Since the endless sea was this chaotic, this was apparently a suitable place for him to cultivate. Lin Die and Xia Shengchuan were dead. Shi Yang was now more confident than before when he faced the Devil Emperor Kai Yang. With the emergence of Bo Zun, Di Shan and Yu Ru had to betray him because of their race. For Shi Yang, this was a great humiliation. He came to the dark magnetic noxious mist to kill and get back what belonged to him. Chapter 411, Sentimental Selection. Chapter 411, Sentimental Selection. If that place is so dangerous, why do you still want to go back? Zuosha was puzzled. She gently asked, "Shi Yang, you can temporarily return to the quiet cloud. I think if your family knows that you have broken through the sky realm, they will be delighted. If you go back to the Merchant Union, the Shi family and the Zuo family will unite and perhaps can dominate the God-blessed empire and the Fire Empire." "The quiet cloud is too small," Shi Yang shook his head. "If the time comes, I will let you go to the Merchant Union so that you can find a more suitable place to cultivate." "Found it?" Laro Li screamed from a distance. Shi Yang was startled. He then said to Zuoshu and Zuoshu, "Let's not talk about this now. Let's go over there to see what mystery lies in the underground of this island." When Shi Yang, Zuoshu, and Zuoshu came, Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and Cai Yi already stood in front of a dark hole. Some other warriors of the Divine Radiant cult quickly rushed over as well. This was not a big hole where cold aura flew out continuously. Standing in front of the cave entrance, they could sense fresh breeze blowing onto their bodies, making them feel a bone-deep chill and give them a feeling that some kind of danger was hiding inside that cave, which terrified everyone. Not long after that, Li Yu also arrived with the remaining disciples of the Divine Radiant cult, looking at the entrance of the cave. "This is it." Zhao Feng cocked his head to look a bit and then shook it. "I can't see anything. Perhaps there's also something blocking the soul consciousness." While they were talking, a silhouette suddenly rushed out and shouted, "Run!" An arm-sized rattan like a ghost hand thrust out from the cave and trapped that man instantly. As it had wound around the man, it released a strong suction force all of a sudden. The man's blood flowed towards the rattan, and in just a short amount of time, All of his blood had completely been drained. Everyone's eyes were wide opened. That man died even before he could have exited the cave. Everyone's face was frozen. Zwusha and Grandpa Zwa, don't get in. Find a safe place outside and wait. Shi Yang acted decisively and told the two of them hurriedly, it's very dangerous in there. You will not be able to help with anything, but you can get us bothered. His words were rude. Zwushu's eyes flashed a trace of sadness as he knew his cultivation base was too low. He reluctantly nodded, held Zwusha's hand and said, Zwushu, don't go there. Shi Yang's right. We really can't help with anything. Although Zwusha wanted to try, she still followed her grandfather's advice. She looked at Kai Xiao and Shi Yang worriedly, and said with a low tone, you should be careful. It's strange in there. If it's too dangerous, come out immediately. Don't take anything. Only if you're alive can you enjoy the benefits. If you're dead, then there is nothing left. Okay. Shi Yang smiled and nodded, I know. I will consider staying alive as the primary task. If I realize that it's something I can't handle, I will come out immediately. Can we go now? Zhao Feng was excited, rubbing his hands and said with a smile, the more dangerous the place is, the more chances that secret treasures will be there. Everyone should be careful. Don't let the rattan entangle you. Everyone nodded with solemn faces. Zhao Feng didn't say anything else, laughed out loud and jumped down first. Li Yu and the others from the Divine Radiant cult didn't hesitate either. They all followed Zhao Feng, plunging down into the cave. Kai Xiao and the two brothers also followed him. You leave first. Shi Yang looked at Zwushu and Zwusha. The two of them were a little hesitant but didn't say anything. They then left the cave and disappeared into the jungle. Only Cai Yi and Shi Yang were left. Cai Yi didn't hurry to jump down but looked at him with a longing face. She was wearing green clothes, her face was white, and her eyes were like they could speak. She kept looking at Shi Yang with a begging attitude. Are you anxious? Shi Yang calmly asked. After the battle in the previous exotic land, I think that you have trusted me. Cai Yi said with a serious face. I'm different from Rya. I will not be shameless like her. I know that you have helped us a lot all the way. I will not return evil for good, I promise. This reason is not enough, said Shi Yang with an emotionless face. It is certainly dangerous down there. As my soul has your formation technique, I can't utilize all of my power. Cai Yi angrily stared at him. What's wrong with you? I have begged you like this. Although I did something bad in that lake, didn't you do the same? Cai Yi's face reddened as she was shy. Shi Yang sneered and said, yes, I also did something wrong in that place. But it was just because I saw you wanted to harm me. I was so angry that I did it. If you guys didn't do that to me, I definitely would not have done anything. Speaking of the charming scene at the bottom of that lake, he couldn't help but remember Cai Yi's beautiful body, while his eyes also changed slightly, becoming burning. Under Shi Yang's scrutinizing eyes, Cai Yi was very embarrassed. She fiercely stared at him and growled, leave it then. After talking, she was about to jump down into the cave. All right, let me remove it for you, blurted Shi Yang. Cai Yi's beautiful eyes suddenly brightened. She halted, burst into laughter, turned around to look at him and gently said, I knew it. It's not like you don't have any feelings. You're actually very nice. As long as the others have good intentions toward you, you will not harm them. Otherwise, you would not care for Zwusha that much. After Zwusha appeared, Shi Yang always cared for Zwushu and Zwusha on the way. Cai Yi secretly observed him for a while, then realized that the care didn't come from love, it was just because they knew each other before. He didn't mind encountering dangers, and instead, always helped the two of them. After a long time of observation, Cai Yi finally realized that Shi Yang was not cold and ruthless as she'd imagined. She was actually envious of Zwushu, as Shi Yang cared for her a lot. After understanding more about Shi Yang, her hatred towards Shi Yang gradually faded, and moreover, she wanted to have a good relationship with him. If I was really ruthless, you and the two brothers should already be dead. Shi Yang slightly harumphed and said, if I didn't save you and help you go to the corpse bridge, you think that you could have survived? I know you are kind. Cai smiled. She looked thrilled and fresh as her mood was good. Can you remove the formation technique for me now? Shi Yang nodded, closed his eyes and used a soul connection to enter her mind to remove the formation technique that he had left in her soul before. Cai suddenly let out a sigh of relief, grinned like flowers blossoming, which could mesmerize other people. She nodded to Shi Yang and said with a low voice, "You aren't bad indeed. If I knew about it soon, I definitely would not have done it in that lake. However, you already saw my body, and I will remember it carefully." After talking, Cai moved to the cave, released a colorful band of 5-colored light and slowly went into the cave. Shi Yang was bewildered. Quietly watching Cai's graceful body slowly diving, Shi Yang shook his head after a long while, grinned and went into the cave. In the dark cave, Shi Yang could only see the colorful light from Cai's body. He accelerated and appeared next to her in only 3 seconds. This cave seemed to be very deep. The two of them had been plunging down for a while, but still didn't see anything. No light came up from the cave either. Shi Yang, honestly, do you like Zhuoshe? Although that girl doesn't have a high realm, she's very charming. It's normal if you like her. While flying down, Cai suddenly turned her head to look at him and asked curiously, "Why does it matter to you?" Shi Yang harumphed and said, "You should care about yourself. Don't let the rattan here shackle you. If it happens, I'll just ignore you." "You will not," Cai said with a smile. After the formation technique in her mind was removed, she seemed to have solved the knot. She seemed to no longer hate Shi Yang. Her face glowed. "Although you look cold, you are not like that. I know it. Did you fall in love with me?" Shi Yang pouted and coldly looked at her. "Although I did touch you, I will not take responsibility. Don't think I will love you because of this. I'm very ruthless. I'm only interested in your body, not you. I don't like a woman who is too cunning. Right. Perhaps I love you already." Cai was half real, half joking, but she was not angry either. "I have heard that if a man is interested in a woman's body, then loving her is not too distant a thing. Anyway, you have seen and touched my body already. Well, you can just forget that girls were sure and be my man. If you want to flirt with me, you should consider the time and situation." Shi Yang rubbed his nose and said reluctantly, "If I knew this, I would not have removed the formation technique for you. I just realized that since your mind is free from the formation technique, your brain seems to have had some problem. If you want to die, I don't care. But don't talk nonsense to me. It affects my vigilance." Such an emotionless guy. Cai glanced at him with enchanting eyes. The two of them flew down shoulder to shoulder. Her body emitted a flashing light. Shi Yang could see every change on her face, smell the fragrance from her body, and hear her sulky words. He calmed down again and felt that this subterranean trip didn't seem so terrible as he'd imagined. Chapter 412, Swallow Hollow Spirits. Chapter 412, Swallow Hollow Spirits. Shi Yang and Cai had plunged down side by side for around 10 minutes before they finally got to the center of the underground. This place looked like a fantasy land, with a huge swamp area in the center. Many bizarre trees like rattan grew in the swamp. Those trees were strangely humanoid, each of them was 10 meters high, slowly moving in the swamp. Gloomy ghosts were wandering around, scattering out cold evil thoughts which could affect people's sea of consciousness. These gloomy ghosts emitted green light while the swamp water was dark green, making the swamp look more eccentric and gloomy like a world of ghosts. More than 10 Nirvana Realm and Sky Realm warriors were scattered in all directions around the swamp. Everyone's faces were solemn while fighting with the gloomy ghosts and the humanoid monsters. When a warrior died, his blood would be sucked completely, and his immortal soul would quickly be assimilated by the gloomy ghost. It then also turned him into a ghost, staring at other warriors with human auras and releasing terrible spirit fluctuations. In the swamp, warriors were battling everywhere. Among them was Zhao Feng's team, who were 10 meters away from Shi Yang's left side. They were fighting against those rattan trees and the ghosts, their faces looking quite serious. After arriving, Shi Yang and Cai didn't have time to stop, as they immediately came to aid Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and the others. Shi Yang, be careful. Those rattan monsters and the hollow spirits are extremely tough to deal with. Swords and a variety of attacking forces are ineffective on these hollow spirits. Only soul attacks with intent domains can destroy them. These rattan monsters are some sort of strange creature, an organic combination of flora and fauna. They can absorb human blood and use it to grow their power. Don't let them wrap you. Seeing Shi Yang coming over, Zhao Feng immediately raised his voice to remind him to pay attention to those rattan monsters and hollow spirits. You can use your force to bombard the rattan monsters. These things are malicious. They have sharp thorns. Once they pierce through someone's body, they will target the blood vessels and suck all of the warrior's blood. At any cost, don't let them wrap you. As for the hollow spirits, they have a terrible soul corrosion force. Once the hollow spirits drill into your sea of consciousness, they will control your it. Kai Xiao was dealing with a rattan tree. His entire body was filled with thick smoke, and he seemed to flash on and off in that smoke. Once the rattan tree came, he would hide inside the smoke, making the rattan tree unable to identify his location. The two brothers Laro Lun and Laro Li were fighting against hollow spirits, and thus, didn't have spare time to remind Shi Yang. Now, when Shi Yang came, they had a little bit free time to tell him about the strengths and weaknesses of the rattan trees and hollow spirits. 3 rattan monsters had their roots extended into the swamp, but they still could move dexterously, as if they had legs. 10 hollow spirits shrouded Zhao Feng, Li Yu, and the others, as they seemed to understand the rules. They launched attacks together, releasing violent soul vibrations towards the divine radiant cult's disciples and Kai Xiao. Facing these soul fluctuations, Zhao Feng and Li Yu could deal with them easily. However, the two brothers were strained in fighting them. The two of them wore strange faces and kept moving backward while guarding their sea of consciousness, as they were afraid that these hollow spirits would occupy their minds. After observing everything for a while, Shi Yang realized that there were many warriors with empty eyes and green pupils. They were attacking other warriors together with the hollow spirits. Those people were obviously warriors as well. However, their sea of consciousnesses seemed to have been occupied by the hollow spirits, thus getting completely under the hollow spirits' control. They had no sense of their own, and just automatically attacked the other warriors. After coming here, Shi Yang and Cai Yi joined the battle immediately together with Kai Xiao, Zhao Feng, and the others, attacking the rattan monsters. With a quick glance, Shi Yang realized that there were many warriors in the swamp fighting the rattan monsters and the hollow spirits. With a rough count, he guessed there were at least 7 or 8 teams of warriors. It seemed that there was also fighting in the place further than here. However, because of the far distance, Shi Yang could hardly see clearly. Before coming to this island, his profound qi had been recovered through the demon crystals. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame had also restored 7 or 8 parts of their power. They were now hibernating in the blood vein ring and could always correspond to his call to come out. With many battles like this, he was not worried, easily dealing with those rattan trees as well as observing the situation around. Watch out! Cai Yi shouted to Shi Yang. Behind you! A shining green hollow spirit turned into a green light column that passed by Laro Li and rushed towards Shi Yang. This hollow spirit was formed from a soul, didn't have a body and just some extremely violent soul fluctuations. Evil thoughts pierced into his mind first, and the hollow spirit immediately caught up with it, directly flying straight into his sea of consciousness. Before Shi Yang could turn his head, he was immediately aware of his brain tingling, as if countless steel needles piercing through his head, becoming extremely painful. He had been just negligent for one moment, and that had given the hollow spirit the opportunity to penetrate his mind. The green light suddenly disappeared into his head. The complexions of Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and the others changed dramatically. Cai Yi was also worried. She shouted, Shi Yang, quiet down your mind. Don't let the hollow spirit control it. With this kind of hollow spirit's penetration, it was difficult for other people to help him. Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and the others could only stare at the hollow spirit jumping into his sea of consciousness. Each warrior's sea of consciousness was the place where the host soul dwelled. The penetration of others' soul consciousness into someone's sea of consciousness would make it chaotic and raging, which helped the hollow spirit accelerate its control. Therefore, seeing the hollow spirit jumping into Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, Zhao Feng and the others didn't dare to send their soul consciousness into it, because they knew that once they did it, it would make Shi Yang even more tempestuous. To deal with the hollow spirit, he could only rely on his own spirit as well as his mighty will. If he couldn't stop the hollow spirit from controlling his mind, he would become its slave forever, and could never escape. Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, Cai Yi, and others, who were fighting with rattan trees, were still distracted by looking at him, as they didn't know whether he could resist the hollow spirit or not. Inside Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, the hollow spirit's invasion caused a mutation of his sea of consciousness. Countless streams of soul consciousness in his sea of consciousness seemed to be unable to rise. A kind of intimidating soul fluctuation spread out from the hollow spirit, filling his entire sea of consciousness. His eyes suddenly became dazed and empty. When Kai Xiao and the others saw Shi Yang's empty eyes, they felt chilled in their hearts and knew that things were going bad. Cai Yi's face changed as she showed a trace of worry. She shouted again, "Protect your mind." However, at this moment, Shi Yang suddenly grinned and said, "No worries. I'm fine." The 5 devils that hid in his sea of consciousness suddenly turned into 5 huge hollow shadows attacking that hollow spirit. The hollow spirit panicked and did not dare to stay in his sea of consciousness, quickly flying out of his mind. The 5 devils swarmed over, entangling that hollow spirit. They opened their mouths full of fangs to devour that hollow spirit. Inside his sea of consciousness, his host soul also opened the 3rd eye, and the evil aura of the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame spread out as well. Just in a moment, he had already regained his consciousness, not getting affected by the impact of that hollow spirit. This terrified Zhao Feng and the others. "Leave these hollow spirits to me." When everyone was still horrified, Shi Yang wore a surprised face and then excitedly said, "You guys don't need to deal with the hollow spirits. I alone am enough." After the 5 devils swallowed the hollow spirit, Shi Yang was clearly aware that they had become stronger and were still craving for more. The hollow spirits seemed to be great nutrients to enhance their power. With this finding, Shi Yang removed his spirit defense and stood still, waiting for the hollow spirits to fall into his trap. The hollow spirits' wisdom was not high, and basically, they couldn't comprehend a lesson for themselves. Seeing Shi Yang standing without any defense, all hollow spirits turned into many green light beams, directly storming into his sea of consciousness. In his sea of consciousness right now, the 5 devils were floating around as well as his host soul, which was releasing an earth-destructive aura. Any hollow spirit that went into his sea of consciousness desperately wanted to flee outside as fast as possible under the impact of the 5 devils and his host soul. During that time, the 5 devils would scatter and search for hollow spirits inside his sea of consciousness. When a hollow spirit touched the 5 devils, it was like they got stuck to the rubber glue, not being able to move at all. The 5 devils were extremely excited, clinging to those hollow spirits and engulfing all of them. When a hollow spirit would be about to escape his sea of consciousness, the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame would release an evil light, and that hollow spirit would be immediately annihilated and disappear without leaving any trace. The 9 serenities soul-devouring flame could destroy all evil creatures. The hollow spirits that had entered Shi Yang's sea of consciousness simply looked for death. None of them could escape. Seeing those hollow spirits drill into Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, but him still smiling and leisurely looking around here and there to look for more hollow spirits, Zhao Feng and the others were speechless. They shook their heads and let out a sigh. They were terrified because of Shi Yang's strange power. In a short moment, a group of hollow spirits wandering around Zhao Feng and the others were all swallowed by the 5 devils in Shi Yang's sea of consciousness. After absorbing the hollow spirits, the 5 devils grew significantly. Their images were getting clearer, and even their faces became livelier. But Shi Yang was not satisfied yet. With such delicious snacks in front of him, it would be a waste if he didn't enjoy. "I'll go to find more hollow spirits. You guys should be careful dealing with those rattan trees." After informing Cai Yi, Shi Yang burst into laughter and strolled to the swamp. When the hollow spirits, which were fighting with the other warriors, realized that Shi Yang's sea of consciousness had no defense, all of them rushed to him and penetrated his sea of consciousness. Those hollow spirits that fell into his sea of consciousness had no way to come out, becoming nutrients for the 5 devils. The 5 devils in his sea of consciousness had engulfed all of them. Those warriors quickly realized the abnormal situation, and thus, they all had a terrified look. They couldn't help but take a glance at Shi Yang secretly. "Shi Yang, I'm Yi Zhongfeng. Come here and give me a hand." A familiar voice arose from the left, behind a group of rattan monsters, sounding a little anxious. Chapter 413, The Heart with a Grudge. Chapter 413, The Heart with a Grudge. 7 rattan monsters stood in a semicircle, surrounding a group of miserable-looking warriors. 12 hollow spirits were floating above them, releasing a terrifying spiritual power which made this group of warriors unable to speak and find it difficult to resist. Shi Yang originally didn't pay attention to this place. As long as he saw hollow spirits on the way, he would open his sea of consciousness without any guard, so that these hollow spirits would take the initiative to fall into his trap. Then, the 5 devils would devour them all. In the rattan monster's siege, a familiar voice arose, startling him. He then looked towards that direction more attentively. "Yi Zhongfeng," Shi Yang suddenly shouted while his eyes brightened. "Is it you?" "It's me." Yi Zhongfeng cried out loud. "Come here quickly. I can see that you seem to be able to deal with the hollow spirits. Come here and help me out in dealing with these hollow spirits." After identifying that the voice belonged to Yi Zhongfeng, Shi Yang didn't hesitate, turning into a beam of light and dashing towards his location. A flow of thick, bone-chilling aura overflowed from his body, and the dense fog scattered. The surrounding rattan monsters didn't dare to act rashly. When the thick, cold fog barged in, those rattan trees wrapping around him were frozen, and they could no longer move freely. The icy air of the ice-cold flame seemed to be able to freeze everything, and rattan monsters were no exception. Those rattan monsters also seemed to know that Shi Yang was not easy to deal with. All of the rattan trees on the way halted when they recognized the ice-cold flame's aura, and didn't continue to pursue him. A cluster of burning fires ignited from the middle of the 7 rattan monsters. The scorching fire seemed to come from the purgatory true flame, seemingly wanting to burn everything in this world into ashes. The purgatory true flame. Even though he was still a bit far from that place, with the ice-cold flame, he already knew that Yi Zhongfeng was one of those warriors. The purgatory true flame came from Yi Zhongfeng. Unless he was dead, it would never leave his body. If the purgatory true flame appeared, Yi Zhongfeng was certainly there. Many clusters of the purgatory true flame looked like floating clouds in the air. Its heat was extremely horrifying, and the rattan monsters around didn't dare to reach out, not even a single branch. Shi Yang observed everything for a moment and then realized that there were a lot of ashes in those clusters of burning flames. With a closer look, he found that they were the ashes from the rattan trees which had been burned. The fact that those rattan monsters were oppressed might be because they already had experienced the purgatory true flame. Although this purgatory true flame was powerful, hollow spirits didn't seem to be scared. This kind of a strange spirit creature aggressively moved in the burning flames, like fireflies shining everywhere, even covering the purgatory true flame's fires. Inside the circle formed by the rattan monsters, there was a group of 4, including 3 males and 1 female. They were all very young. The men were handsome and charming while the woman was both beautiful and graceful. Yi Zhongfeng was sitting cross-legged on the ground with a solemn face. His body released a plume of flames from time to time. The flames flew out and instantly gathered with the fire clouds in the sky, and thus, those rattan monsters didn't dare to act recklessly. The other 2 men were standing in front of Yi Zhongfeng on his left and on his right respectively. They were tall and might, with long beards and charming look. These 2 people showed their cold eyes and didn't say anything as they seemed to be resisting the soul attack from the hollow spirits. Behind Yi Zhongfeng stood a beautiful woman with a graceful body, wearing a leather skirt. She was holding a dragon bone whip while looking around with caution. Lin Yaqi was not in this group. Actually, Yi Zhongfeng alone was enough to deal with these rattan monsters. The reason they were facing danger was because of the lingering hollow spirits. After a long time since they last met, Yi Zhongfeng had already entered the first sky of Nirvana realm. The other 3 people were at the second or the third sky of Nirvana realm. This team was not too powerful in this swamp, and even weaker than Zhao Feng's and Shi Yang's teams. As most of them were at the Nirvana realm, they seemed to be strained while dealing with the hollow spirits. At the Nirvana realm, the warrior's sea of consciousness was just newly formed. Thus, the host soul was limited, and hardly utilized powerful soul attacks or defense. That was why they had difficulty in fighting with hollow spirits. "Come here and give me a hand quickly." Seeing Shi Yang stop outside of the rattan monster's area, Yi Zhongfeng's eyes brightened while he anxiously said, "Boy, help me deal with these hollow spirits. I don't need you for other things. I can cope with the rattan monsters." Shi Yang still didn't rush over. His entire body emitted a cold, gloomy aura. He knitted his eyebrows, looking at the others and asked, "Where is Xia Xinyan?" Shi Yang's face darkened. He could see something bad had happened as Yi Zhongfeng's face suddenly changed. "Help me deal with these hollow spirits. I will tell you about Xia Xinyan later." Yi Zhongfeng frowned, shook his head and looked at Shi Yang with a guilty face. "Okay." Shi Yang walked over to those 4 people with a somber face. Seeing him coming closer, the 7 rattan monsters could feel that terrifying cold aura but didn't dare to attack him. On one side was the purgatory true flame that Yi Zhongfeng releasing, and the other side was the ice-cold flame's aura from Shi Yang's body. Although these 2 heaven flames didn't release their real power, their auras were enough to frighten the rattan monsters and make them stay away. The 7 rattan monsters moved away, giving him the way. This incident also terrified the other 3 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group. Those 3 people were guarding against the rattan monsters and taking precautions against Shi Yang at the same time. They looked extremely careful and curious. The beautiful woman had a tanned skin and an appealing body, wearing a nice leather skirt. She raised her eyebrows, staring at Shi Yang while speaking to Yi Zhongfeng. "Zhongfeng, who is this? Is he a member of your spirit treasure sect? Why haven't I seen him before?" "He's a friend who I've met in the Endless Sea," explained Yi Zhongfeng. "The Endless Sea?" That woman laughed with disdain and then swung the dragon bone whip in her hand. A thunder-like explosion reverberated in the void. Each nag of the dragon bone whip seemed to contain a mysterious power that could shake the heaven and earth. She was the one with the highest realm among the 4 of them, which was the 3rd sky of Nirvana realm. With her dragon bone whip, her aura was terrifying. "Beauty, if you can cope with the hollow spirits, I will not take action." Shi Yang came over, curled his lips and coldly looked at her with ridicule. "That's right. The Endless Sea is just a small place, and of course, far lower than your divine great land. I think that the young talents of the divine great land can deal with this kind of hollow spirits much better than me. I will not dare to offer to teach a fish to swim." After talking, he turned to Yi Zhongfeng, quickly sat down without looking at that woman anymore. He stared at Yi Zhongfeng with a dark face and asked, "How is Xia Xinyan? I don't see you have the guts either." The woman's face became cold while she harumphed. "If Lin Yaqi were here, we would not have needed you. With Lin Yaqi's soul defensive secret treasure, these hollow spirits wouldn't even dare to come close." Shi Yang basically didn't care about that woman. He calmly looked at Yi Zhongfeng. "She's fine. She has probably reached the Nirvana realm. This can't be told in just a few words. Help me deal with these hollow spirits first." Yi Zhongfeng begged to him again. While talking, Yi Zhongfeng looked at that appealing woman with a wry smile. "Linji, don't bring more troubles to me. You can deal with those hollow spirits. As my sea of consciousness has just formed, I cannot resist the soul attack of the hollow spirits. Can you please talk less?" The woman's name was Linji. She threw a glance at Shi Yang and stopped babbling. "She's Linji, Lin Yaqi's sister. She's like that, not easy to talk to at the beginning. But after getting more familiar, she's not that bad." Yi Zhongfeng forced a smile, explained to Shi Yang and then urged, "Be quick. These hollow spirits seem to be interested in my appearance now. As my realm is the lowest, I can barely resist them." Shi Yang frowned, coldly looked at him, hesitated for a moment and said, "You will have to tell me everything later." After talking, he focused his mind to scatter his consciousness, exposing his sea of consciousness without any defense. He even walked towards the area where the hollow spirits were gathering. A hollow spirit which flew next to the rattan monsters suddenly considered him its delicious food and then rushed towards him without hesitation. 12 hollow spirits, which were like giant fireflies, turned into green lights and went into his sea of consciousness one by one. After watching all of those hollow spirits enter his sea of consciousness, Yi Zhongfeng's group looked at him curiously. Lin Ji was not an exception. The woman surprisingly stared at Shi Yang. Other people from Yi Zhongfeng's group also looked at him with curiosity. When Shi Yang had come to the swamp earlier, other people had all paid attention to the rattan monsters, except for Yi Zhongfeng with the purgatory true flame. He had quietly been focusing on the area ahead, and had surprisingly seen Shi Yang let the hollow spirits storm into his sea of consciousness one after another while still being safe and continuing to walk to the hollow spirits gathering area. When Yi Zhongfeng recognized his acquaintance, he had been overjoyed as he had found someone to help him. The other 3 people, Lin Ji and the other 2, didn't believe it because they didn't see Shi Yang still safe and sound walking around in the swamp after absorbing hollow spirits. They just thought that Yi Zhongfeng wanted to encourage them. Right now, Shi Yang was walking over while opening his sea of consciousness at the same time. This made Lin Ji and the other 2 people startled, as they knew that Yi Zhongfeng was not joking. The people of Lin Ji's group understood well how dangerous the hollow spirits were. They knew that only some specific types of soul defensive secret treasure could prevent the hollow spirit's soul attacks from harming the users. However, Shi Yang, on the contrary, let the hollow spirits go into his sea of consciousness. This abnormality went beyond their imagination. This friend of mine is not like the other warriors of the Endless Sea. He's even stronger than the warriors of the divine Great Land. While Shi Yang was dealing with the hollow spirits, Yi Zhongfeng talked to the others with a low tone and a solemn face. Last time when we parted, he was only at the Earth realm. In just 1 year, I have reached the Nirvana realm, and I assumed that it was a fast progress. Unexpectedly, he has entered the Sky realm. This is unbelievable indeed. Lin Ji and the other 2 were dumbstruck. Chapter 414, Slap on the Face. Chapter 414, Slap on the Face. Zhongfeng, are you kidding me? Lin Ji was startled and suddenly screamed out loud. She constantly shook her head, not knowing if she should laugh or cry. Have you ever heard anyone reach the Sky realm from the Earth realm in only 1 year? She looked at the other 2 men and asked, Luo Xiao, Luo Meng, have you ever heard of it? The 2 men shook their heads. Do you believe it? Lin Ji asked again. Luo Xiao and Luo Meng showed a hesitant face. They frowned but didn't reply. Yi Zhongfeng's face darkened, as he unhappily said, Lin Ji Jie, you don't believe me? You doubt that I'm lying and that I'm exaggerating his ability? Lin Ji smiled and shook her head. It's not that I doubt you. I just feel that this guy might have cheated you. He might be actually at the Sky realm that time but hid his real ability so well that you thought he was only at the Earth realm. This guy seems to have a wicked heart and just wanted to be close to you. I don't know what schemes he has for doing that. After talking, she looked at Shi Yang with ironic eyes, not seeming to be concerned about Shi Yang's irritation. Yi Zhongfeng harumphed and said with discontent, let's bet if you don't believe it. He and Shi Yang knew each other because he had taken the initiative to get close to him. It was not right saying that Shi Yang wanted to be close to him. On that island, he had witnessed the fight between Shi Yang and Man Ji Yu, how strange Shi Yang had been under Kai Yang's soul attacks, how helpless he was when Kai Yang had killed Lin Die and Xie Shengchuan. Many signs had shown that Shi Yang's previous realm was not high, so it was impossible that he wanted to get close to him. However, entering the Sky realm from the Earth realm in just 1 year was hard to believe even if he saw it with his own eyes. Hence, it was understandable if Lin Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng didn't believe it. If he hadn't been sure that Shi Yang's previous realm was only the Earth realm, he wouldn't have believed this was the truth either. While these people were talking, Shi Yang still stayed near there, so he could hear their conversation. In his sea of consciousness, the 5 devils crazily chased the 12 hollow spirits who had penetrated there and were now running and fleeing away in fear. However, under the 5 devils' pursuit, these 12 hollow spirits basically couldn't escape. The third eye of his host soul released a light beam, forming a barrier that prevented the hollow spirits from getting through and blocked all the entrances of the Sea of Consciousness. After knowing that the hollow spirits had a great impact on the 5 devils, Shi Yang's host soul began to show its power. It did not simply burn these hollow spirits into ashes, but also formed a variety of defensive barriers that only let these hollow spirits get in but prevented them from going out, so they would become the 5 devils' nutrients. The 5 devils soon engulfed all 12 hollow spirits. Shi Yang's face became cold. He now looked at Lin Ji and then said impatiently, "Hollow spirits were solved. So, what happened to Xinyan?" When he was dealing with hollow spirits, his entire body emitted a cold aura. The ice-cold flame was still vigilant, guarding against these 4 people in case they had any bad intentions. Right now, as the hollow spirits had been destroyed all, the cold aura from his body disappeared and gathered again in his eyes, making people tremble in fear. Under Shi Yang's cold stare, Lin Ji felt a little embarrassed. She grunted while her face slightly changed. Under Shi Yang's scrutinizing look, Yi Zhongfeng was a little ashamed then explained, "After the 3 of us left the Hengluo Sea, we passed through the Vault of Heaven Sea area to go to the dark magnetic noxious mist. When we entered the dark magnetic noxious mist, 2 God Realm warriors of the Pure Land suddenly appeared and directly came to see her." Why were the Pure Land's people looking for her? Shi Yang coldly looked at Yi Zhongfeng with an odd face. He was full of murderous aura. "Did you and Lin Yaqi do something so that the people of the Pure Land looked for her?" "Hey bro, what attitude is this?" Lin Ji suddenly shouted. "My younger sister Lin Yaqi doesn't have any wicked intentions. She always has a good heart. You can doubt Yi Zhongfeng, but don't get my sister involved, okay? She was quite protective of her sister and deserved to be a good older sister." "You shut up," Shi Yang impatiently shouted, frowned, and grunted. "Hey!" Lin Ji shouted again, seeming to be ready to confront him. Even Luo Xiao and Luo Meng looked odd as they felt that Shi Yang's attitude was too aggressive. Luo Xiao hesitated for a moment and said, "Friend, although you just helped us, still, you should mind the way you talk. Lin Ji is our big sister, and Yaqi is our younger sister. Your attitude is unacceptable. Even though you have a Sky Realm cultivations base, we are not scared of you." Luo Meng was quite hot-tempered. "Fighting with warriors who have higher realm than ours is not something that we have never done before. Don't think because of your Sky Realm cultivation base that you can do whatever you want and assume everyone has to be scared of you. Yi Zhongfeng and I are talking. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Shi Yang suddenly stood up with a dark face, coldly looked at Lin Ji and the other 2. "If you don't shut your mouth, I will make you obedient. Stinky brat." Lin Ji's eyes became cold. The dragon bone whip in her hand shook violently and burst out with thunder sounds, releasing many shadows all over the sky like lightning. "Want to die?" As Shi Yang was too worried for Xinyan, he was now furious and thus launched his blow emotionlessly. He raised his left hand and the death seal that contained death intent domain suddenly pressed on those whip shadows in the sky like a small mountain. The death intent domain in that seal was augmenting infinitely. The demise of lives took place inside that death seal. The death seal pressed down, giving people a strange illusion that all creatures in existence would be destroyed. A deadly force also quickly spread out. Under the attack of the death intent domain, the illusionary shadows in the sky all dispersed and soon faded away. Her dragon bone whip was now exposed, as lightning was interweaving on the whip, striking toward Shi Yang's shoulders. The death seal pressed down, and all whips were penetrated by the intent domain of the death seal. The death intent domain ran along the dragon bone whip and then infiltrated into Lin Ji's wrist and her graceful body. Lin Ji's face went cold while her eyes showed her fear. Her face paled without a trace of blood, which gave people a bone-chilling feeling. "What did you do?" Luo Xiao and Luo Meng shouted at the same time. Their skeletons suddenly expanded, and their original hefty body now grew up to 2 meters. They angrily rushed to Shi Yang. "Stop!" Yi Zhongfeng finally shouted out loud. Clusters of burning fires of purgatory true flame diffused and turned into burning flames, staying between Shi Yang and the other 3, preventing them from getting close to each other. Seeing the purgatory true flame coming, Lin Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng stopped immediately. As they knew the purgatory true flame was really powerful, they didn't dare to touch it and just stood motionlessly. However, Shi Yang didn't stop. He leisurely walked through the purgatory true flame without any hindrance, coldly smiled and rushed to Lin Ji. Cold aura spread out from his body. The swamp was frozen under each of his steps. The cold aura diffused and contacted with the purgatory true flame, cancelling each other out. The purgatory true flame didn't harm him. You are not the only one who has a heaven flame. Shi Yang grunted, turned his head to look at Yi Zhongfeng and then dashed towards Lin Ji like a rainbow. Snap! Shi Yang raised his hand and slapped Lin Ji's glowing face. Lin Ji was stunned, holding her cheek while looking at Shi Yang in fear. You dare to slap me? Snap! Another slap fell on her face. Shi Yang sneered, it's to make you shut up. Don't you know that? Enough! Yi Zhongfeng shouted angrily, Shi Yang, what do you want to do? Why are you hurting my people? Hurt your people? Shi Yang laughed fiercely. If you don't tell me clearly about Xinyan, not only will I hurt your people, but I will also kill each of you one by one here. Those people's faces suddenly discolored. By now, they knew how vicious Shi Yang was. Luo Xiao and Luo Meng were originally about to take action, but after seeing Shi Yang still safe after walking through the purgatory true flame, the two of them realized that Shi Yang was not just an ordinary Sky Realm warrior. Luo Xiao, Luo Meng, and Lin Ji could provoke a fight with other Sky Realm warriors. However, Shi Yang was different. The ability that he had shown basically wasn't something that an ordinary Sky Realm warrior could have, which Luo Xiao, Luo Meng, and others had clearly seen with their own eyes. Shi Yang, what are you doing? At this moment, voices of the people of Zhaofeng's group came up from a distance. Zhaofeng, Li Yu, Kai Xiao, and others were coming over here. Hey, why did you take action against them? Zhaofeng asked from afar. Just some Nirvana realm warriors, why do you need to waste your time? In the former exotic land, you already killed 2/3 sky of Sky Realm warriors. So, why did you need much time to bother with these Nirvana realm warriors? Yi Zhongfeng, Lin Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng looked panicked, with tremendously frightened faces. Chapter 415, Submitted. Chapter 415, Submitted. Shi Yang, don't do this, I'm convinced. Don't be angry. Let's talk it out. Yi Zhongfeng quickly beamed a smile to calm Shi Yang down. Lin Ji's face was ashen, without a trace of blood. Under the effect of the death intent domain, she was full of fright, feeling like she had just returned from death. Fortunately, her dragon bone whip had reduced half of the power of the death seal. The intent domain that got inside her head wasn't much. Otherwise, she would not have easily escaped from his death intent domain, and perhaps it would have deprived her of all of her vitality in the end. Lin Ji was originally about to use a secret treasure from her storage ring to deal with Shi Yang. However, after hearing what Zhaofeng just said, as well as seeing the ability of his team, Lin Ji gave up her attempt immediately. No matter whether what Zhaofeng said was true or not, with the cultivation base of Zhaofeng, Li Yu, Kai Xiao, they were strong enough to kill her thousands of times. Lin Ji thought that these people came here with the same purpose, so why couldn't she join them to deal with other forces in the swamp? Although she didn't really want to submit herself, she could only bow her head and keep silent, not daring to utter a word. Luo Xiao and Luo Meng had an odd expression, but didn't say anything. They secretly guarded against Zhaofeng's team, as they were afraid that those people might initiate some actions. Luo Xiao and Luo Meng secretly made up their minds that as long as Zhaofeng, Kai Xiao, and the others showed the slightest sign that they wanted to kill the two of them, they both would immediately escape with the fastest speed. Shi Yang, you don't need to be that aggressive. Yi Zhongfeng forced a smile and kept clasping his hands. You know that I have never had any wicked intention towards you, be it in the endless sea or in the dark magnetic noxious mist. We just have a small misunderstanding. Shi Yang nodded and said, I just don't like that woman quacking. If she had shut her mouth up sooner, I wouldn't have done that. Lin Ji bowed her head while her graceful body slightly trembled as she seemed to try to suppress her anger. Hey, still don't want to submit? Shi Yang, How about letting me give her a lesson? If she gets a few more slaps, perhaps she will be more obedient and even miss its taste. Cai Yi gently came over, laughed out loud while looking at this group of people, ridiculing them. 7 rattan monsters saw many more warriors coming, as well as the aura spreading out from the purgatory true flame and the ice-cold flame. They were well aware that if they continued to fight with those people from Shi Yang's team, they would possibly all die. Therefore, when Zhao Feng and the others came to this side, the 7 rattan monsters unexpectedly scattered away. Eventually, Zhao Feng, Li Yu, and the others arrived this place, where there were neither any hollow spirits nor rattan monsters. It thus became the safest place in the swamp. What happened to Xinyan after all? Shi Yang kept his cold face and continued gazing Yi Zhongfeng. Well, it happened like this. After Yi Zhongfeng, Lin Yaqi, and Xia Xinyan had left the Hengluo Sea together and went to the dark magnetic noxious mist to avoid the chaos happening in the endless sea, Yi Zhongfeng and Lin Yaqi also wanted to inform their master about the unusual situation of the endless sea. However, when the 3 of them just arrived at the dark magnetic noxious mist's entrance, 2 spirit realm warriors, who claimed that they were from the Pure Land, suddenly appeared, directly approaching Xia Xinyan. Yi Zhongfeng and Lin Yaqi were puzzled, while Xia Xinyan was perturbed. The 2 spirit realm warrior of the Pure Land showed extreme respect towards Xia Xinyan, calling her sage, and invited her to return to the Pure Land, saying that they needed her to open some kind of a soul seal. Xia Xinyan was full of suspicion and rejected directly. The 2 God Realm warriors from the Pure Land only apologized for being rude, then captured her and left, not caring about Yi Zhongfeng and Lin Yaqi. Yi Zhongfeng and Lin Yaqi were dumbfounded, helplessly watching Xia Xinyan being brought away. After that, the 2 of them thought for a while without saying anything, and vaguely felt that those 2 spirit realm warriors from the Pure Land seemed to mistake Xia Xinyan with someone else. Is what you said true? Shi Yang still wore a cold face. How come I still feel weird? Why did those 2 spirit realm warriors of the Pure Land bring Xia Xinyan away without any known reason? As far as I've known, she has never been to the divine Great Land. So how do those Pure Land's warriors know her? But that's the truth, Yi Zhongfeng smiled wryly. Shi Yang, with my wisdom, do you think I would tell you such a mythical story if I wanted to lie to you? Shi Yang was stunned, as he contemplated for a while. He slightly shook his head and said with a suspicious face, why? How come those 2 spirit realm warriors from the Pure Land could find Xinyan? Do they really know Xinyan? Impossible. Lin Yaqi and I had thought for a long time and guessed that this might have something related to Xia Xinyan's reincarnation martial spirit. Yi Zhongfeng hesitated a little bit before explaining. According to my understanding of the Xia family, I know that the Xias all have the reincarnation martial spirit, and they can use the memory and the comprehension of the previous generation's warriors. I think it's possible that Xia Xinyan's last generation is some Pure Land sage. The Pure Land does have this kind of secret technique. As long as someone has reached the God realm, given the situation that he is about to die, he can use this secret technique to reincarnate. Before performing this secret technique, that person will retain a divine sense to be stored in a special container. The reincarnation will happen every 50 years. This kind of secret technique seems to be called the Requiem Great Technique. The Divine Radiant Cult and the Pure Land are not far away, so I have heard a little bit about it. Zhao Feng suddenly interrupted. Yi Zhongfeng screamed out loud with a shocked face. Is that true? Li Yu arched her eyebrows, gazed at Shi Yang and then said, if it's true, that girl's in danger. Why? Shi Yang's face changed while his heart sank to the bottom, as he didn't feel good about it either. If that girl is really a reincarnation of a sage, once she is brought to the Pure Land, she will be fused with the divine sense of the last generation. That divine sense will wake up, and she will become that Pure Land sage. Her soul and memory of this life will vanish. Li Yu took a deep breath. I also know about this kind of secret technique of the Pure Land. I know that this reincarnation process needs a lot of preparation. I think although that girl was brought back to the Pure Land, she will still be safe for a short time. To wake her last generation's soul up, it will take at least 5 years to prepare. That girl needs to cultivate 3 kinds of secret soul techniques so that she can keep her soul in the wake-up time. Shi Yang pondered with a grave face. His eyes were cold and sharp like a knife while he whispered, Pure Land, Pure Land. The Pure Land is one of 7 factions of the divine Great Land. They have around 10 spirit realm warriors. Except for these warriors, there is a true God realm warrior that guards the land. With your realm, to find the Pure Land and ask them to return a person within 5 years is not an easy task. Zhao Feng pitifully looked at Shi Yang, who was now wearing a murderous face. Within 5 years, if you can get the true recognition of the Gods sect to make the elders of the Gods sect look at you differently, and use the Gods sect's forces, then you may have a chance to ask for that girl. Li Yu also nodded. This is the only way. 5 years, Shi Yang coldly said, I can't wait that long. Who knows if the Pure Land will wake her up in advance? Wait until the Endless sees things over. I will find a way. Relying only on your own strength, it's impossible to ask to take her back. Zhao Feng comforted him. You should wake up. Unless you can reach the true God realm, don't even dream about being able to confront a faction like the Pure Land. This is a big force that has 100,000 years of history. It has been dominating the divine Great Land for ages. Thus, they should have some background that you cannot imagine. After getting the situation, Li Yu, Cai Yi, and the 2 brothers also persuaded him not to act recklessly and take his time to consider. All the divine Great Land's warriors knew how terrible and dangerous an ancient force like the Pure Land was. Not to mention Shi Yang with only Sky Realm cultivation base, even a warrior at the peak Spirit Realm would also perish when confronting that force. Shi Yang kept silent and didn't say a word. No one knew what he was thinking. He looked around and then spoke up after a while, You guys continue. I will begin my unfinished business. Then, he left immediately, going to the area that was overwhelmed with hollow spirits. Cold aura spread out from his body. Wherever the cold air passed through, the swamp under his feet froze instantly. As soon as the cold aura diffused, the temperature of the whole swamp reduced sharply. Along the way, he opened his mind and left his sea of consciousness empty, deliberately enticing the hollow spirits to enter. In the area where the hollow spirits were gathering, the rattan monsters could feel the cold aura from his body and thus quickly stayed away from him, not daring to disturb him. The hollow spirits were not scared of cold aura but the soul attack. After he had opened his sea of consciousness, those hollow spirits got enticed and immediately rushed toward him, turning into many beams of green light and disappearing into his sea of consciousness. Every hollow spirit that fell into his sea of consciousness was trapped by the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame and then devoured by the 5 devils. Around 100 hollow spirits were panicking inside his sea of consciousness, wanted to get out, but couldn't break the barrier created by the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame. Even if they were struggling and fighting on all sides of his sea of consciousness, they had no way to escape. The 5 devils slowly swallowed almost 100 hollow spirits, and then, his mind began to change quietly. Chapter 416, Spin Cocoon. Chapter 416, Spin Cocoon. In the swamp, nearly 100 hollow spirits floating around were attracted in Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, which were then swallowed by the 5 devils. When all of the hollow spirits disappeared from the swamp, the 5 devils in Shi Yang's sea of consciousness had a mutation immediately. Inside his sea of consciousness, the big bodies of the 5 devils gradually curled up and gathered together. Strands of soul consciousness quietly condensed on the 5 devils' bodies, seeming to be providing them some sort of necessary nutrients. Gradually, the 5 devils were fully wrapped, looking like a big cocoon. A string of surging spirit came out from the inside of that cocoon from time to time. A kind of cold evil aura was released from the 5 devils' bodies, making the soul consciousness in Shi Yang's sea of consciousness condense above, and seem to be well prepared for the 5 devils' mutation. Feeling the soul consciousness receding, Shi Yang showed an emotional look on his face and halted in the swamp. Although Kai Xiao, Zhao Feng, and others were fighting with the rattan monsters, after realizing the change in Shi Yang's face, they all quietly came over and surrounded him. Zhao Feng and the others didn't know what was happening in his body. However, through his dazed appearance, They knew that he was not in a good situation at the moment. If he was careless and let the rattan monsters swath him, or be attacked by the other warriors, his life would probably be in danger. Whether they were the Divine Radiant cult's disciples like Zhao Feng or others like Kai Xiao and Cai Yi, they all didn't want anything bad happening to him. Therefore, they automatically assumed the obligation of protecting him, as they were afraid that unexpected accidents might happen at this stage. In the beginning, his soul consciousness flowed to the 5 devils at a slow pace. Once the 5 devils had condensed into a round object and formed a thick cocoon, even his soul consciousness that flowed to the 5 devils slowed down. At this moment, Shi Yang suddenly woke up in panic. The changes of the 5 devils in his sea of consciousness were continuing, still absorbing his soul consciousness. However, he was no longer affected by the 5 devils' changes. He now could maintain his consciousness to observe all that was happening. In this dangerous place, why did you suddenly become lost? Cai Yi blamed him. Her beautiful eyes flashed a trace of concern. She was next to Shi Yang as she cheerfully smiled, no longer hating him because of being rude to her in the lake. Shi Yang raised his eyebrows, looked at the crowd and said shamefully, "Too many hollow spirits to digest. No worries, I'm sound now. Thank you for your protection, or else I might have had troubles." After hearing what he said, everyone else was now relieved, giving friendly smiles and nodding to him. There are a lot of rattan monsters. So, it's tough to deal with them. We'll stay here temporarily to wait and see the changes. As long as the rattan monsters are still here, this swamp will not be in peace. I always feel that this swamp should quiet down so that some changes will come. The moving speed of Zhao Feng and Li Yu's powers in their body slowed down gradually. They stretched their arms out from time to deal with the rattan monsters that dared to come close to them. Once those rattan monsters were beaten to the other areas under Zhao Feng's impact, he grinned and looked at the warriors in the other areas with ill intent. Shi Yang was startled, and couldn't help but look towards Yi Zhongfeng and Lin Ji's area, and then called out with a pitching tone, "Yi Zhongfeng, come here." From a distance, the 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group didn't have difficulties in dealing with the rattan monsters. As they had the Purgatory True Flame to protect them, the rattan monsters didn't dare come close to these 4 people. This kept them safe in the swamp without being scared of the rattan monster's threat. Hearing Shi Yang calling, Yi Zhongfeng's eyes showed a strange light. He hesitated for a while before nodding to Lin Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng, reluctantly coming to Shi Yang's spot. As soon as the 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group arrived, Zhao Feng and Li Yu quietly scattered. The other members of the Divine Radiant cult also understood their intent, dispersing out and besieging the 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group, preventing them from running away. Lin Ji's face changed while her heart was frightened. After having received 2 slaps, Lin Ji seemed to have been awakened, realizing Shi Yang's cruelty. Thus, she felt a little scared of Shi Yang. However, she didn't know if Shi Yang had an ill intention or not. The 2 brothers Luo Xiao and Luo Meng were calm and didn't say anything. Their eyes flickered non-stop while being vigilant secretly. "Why do you need to be that cautious?" Cai Yi smiled gently, slightly shook her head and said with a soft voice, "If we did want to harm you, you think you could escape us? You should be obedient. This place is not the same as the outside. If we want to kill you, you will die undoubtedly, no matter how much cautious you are." Lin Ji's face darkened, as she helplessly let down her guard. "Shi Yang, are we friends?" Yi Zhongfeng came forward. His handsome face was solemn, and his sharp eyes looked at Shi Yang. Shi Yang froze for a moment and slightly nodded, "Let it be. If we are friends, then why do your partners keep provoking us? Are you the same as them? Do you think we are easy to be bullied? When we were in the Hengluo Sea before, I never hurt you and also brought Xia Xinyan along as you wanted. Although she was taken by people of the Pure Land, we were actually helpless in this incident. Even if she were not with us by that time, the Pure Land's people would still have found her," Yi Zhongfeng said calmly. Shi Yang nodded. If it's the case, then I'm wrong indeed. I am sorry. Because it's related to her, I'm a little too emotional." After saying that, he looked at Zhao Feng, Li Yu, and the others. "Don't be so eyeing. He is my friend. No matter what the truth is, before I figure it out, I hope you have regards for me and don't bully them." After hearing Shi Yang's words, Zhao Feng and the others grinned and nodded. Their look towards Yi Zhongfeng's group became less fierce. Yi Zhongfeng quietly let out a sigh of relief. "Why are you here? Ah, since you've come here before us, do you know if anything is unusual in this swamp?" Shi Yang looked around with full suspicion. With many warriors gathering in the swamp like this, they clearly knew that it was not easy to mess with hollow spirits and rattan monsters. But how come no one left? After all, what were they waiting for? There should be some strange thing in this swamp area, something that attracted the crowd here. Otherwise, why did these warriors still stay here even though they knew that this place was extremely dangerous? Zhao Feng's and the others' eyes brightened. All of them looked at Yi Zhongfeng. Shi Yang's doubt was also what was in their mind now. They were very curious about why Yi Zhongfeng's group also stayed back here. It is said that the pure god soul of this exotic land is in this swamp. The source of this information is absolutely reliable. However, we have been staying here for a long time, but there is no movement of any soul. Yi Zhongfeng was somehow puzzled. According to my master, if the pure god soul truly exists, the most likely area should be in this swamp. How long have you been here? 7 days, more or less. During these 7 days, quite a lot of hollow spirits and rattan monsters appeared in this swamp. Some people of my team died on entering here. Many of them turned into hollow spirits after they died. It seems that after people die here, their souls do not perish, but become hollow spirits instead. Yi Zhongfeng frowned and explained. He thought seriously, shook his head and sighed. Maybe we shouldn't stay here for too long. If there is nothing in another 3 days, we must leave this place. Even if there truly is the pure god soul here, we don't have the blessing to get it. Oh! Shi Yang raised his eyebrows, looking at him with puzzled eyes. Every few days, a strong vibration will come up from this swamp. It's strong enough to crush people's souls. The latter ones will be stronger than the previous ones. During the past 7 days in this swamp, we have seen this sort of tremor twice. These 2 instances of vibrations almost made our souls collapse. Yi Zhongfeng's face remained calm and solemn. I almost forgot this. The next tremor should happen in 3 days, and it will be much stronger than the previous ones. With low cultivation bases, we're afraid that we will be unable to bear it this time. We don't want our souls to collapse. The 3 people Lin Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng also wore a regretful face and reluctantly shook their heads. Tremor. Shi Yang's heart was agitated. He faintly understood something. Did the last tremor just happen not long ago? Yes. Shi Yang immediately realized something. He expressed a horrified complexion. Can this kind of vibration affect people's heartbeat, making the heartbeat faster, producing a kind of crazy soul fluctuation? The 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group nodded. The people of Zhao Feng's group had a slight change on their faces. They had realized this kind of vibration before they entered here. This tremor could indeed cause the increase of the heartbeat and make people go insane. Before that, when they were on the island, they had already got affected. The 2 brothers Laro Li and Laro Lun, and Zhuoshu reddened, and somehow couldn't control their minds. They could feel such a huge vibration even when they were on the island. Now that they were in this swamp, when the vibration happened, it would certainly be even more terrible. Moreover, according to Yi Zhongfeng's words, the next vibration would be much stronger than the previous one. Do you think that after the tremor, this swamp might present with something peculiar? With the strange sounds that resounded in the main city of the 4 Symbols mountain range in his mind, Shi Yang hesitated for a while and then vaguely came to understand. Well, I know it. Before that tremor comes, let's go together to see if we can find something. After thinking for a while, Shi Yang decided to stay and take a look at this swamp to see if there was anything abnormal there. The 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's team nodded again. Chapter 417, The Swamp's Terrifying Changes. Chapter 417, The Swamp's Terrifying Changes. In the swamp, as Shi Yang had captured all hollow spirits, only the rattan monsters continued fighting. To the warriors in the bog, rattan monsters were not that terrifying. After the hollow spirit's threat disappeared, those warriors proactively began their attacks, dividing into various teams, besieging and launching their strikes. Whenever one rattan monster died, its blood would flow into the swamp. Blood from these rattan monsters was dark red and warm, giving people a strange feeling. Shi Yang had soon understood that these rattan monsters sucked human blood for food. Hence, the blood that flowed out from their bodies was not their own blood, but what they had sucked from human warriors. Killed rattan monsters were lying bloodily in the swamp. Time passed quietly, and soon, 2 days were gone. Due to the hollow spirit's disappearance, the light inside the bog became darker. It was just the faint green light glimmering, giving people a gloomy feeling. Whenever a rattan monster died, the ambience inside the swamp would get a little bit colder, giving people a chill as if they were in a devil abyss. More and more rattan monsters were killed under the unity of the warriors. Also, more dark red blood was gushing into the swamp. The bog area became gloomy. All kinds of cold, evil aura seemed to spread out gradually, hovering above the swamp, sending people a creepy feeling that something bad was about to happen. Finally, all the rattan monsters were completely wiped out by the warriors. After their blood had been poured into the swamp, the originally green swamp now turned dark red. However, the green light emitting from the swamp didn't change, still floating above the dark red water area, making people feel strange. After all the rattan monsters were cleared, the bog became tranquil. Many warriors were aware that the atmosphere was unusual. They didn't say anything, just put up their guards and stayed vigilant secretly. Some warriors with lower realms even wore thick coats to resist the cold, evil aura from the swamp. Lin Ji covered her appealing body with a leather skirt, but she seemed to be unable to bear the cold, even though she had the cultivation base of third sky of Nirvana realm. She had to put on a thick velvet coat, fully covering the curves of her body. Her face even became a little pale. Laro Li and Laro Lun were also the same. They had to put on more clothes. As Yi Zhongfeng only had the cultivation base of first sky of Nirvana realm, and his sea of consciousness had just been formed, he was unlikely to be able to withstand the penetration of the cold air in this place. However, because he had the purgatory true flame, Yi Zhongfeng, on the contrary, was not affected. The flames coming out from his cuffs helped him resist the cold air. A feeling of extreme repression spread throughout the swamp. Everyone in the swamp had a feeling of insecurity. They looked extremely vigilant. Gurgle, gurgle. Water in the swamp blistered the very first dark red bubble. After that bubble burst, a plume of blood-red vapor quietly spread out. Gurgle, gurgle. More and more blood-red bubbles emerged from the bog. When those bubbles blew up, they released blood-red smoke. The blood-red vapor gradually diffused all over the swamp and shrouded all of the remaining warriors there. Thump, thump. A strange noise came up from the bottom of the swamp. The faces of the 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group changed. Not good. Lin Ji couldn't help but cry out loud with a frightened face. The tremor this time seems to come too early. The time shouldn't have arrived yet, right? The 4 of them seemed to know the exact principle of the vibration in the bog. Hence, after rattan monsters had been cleaned up, they weren't in a hurry to leave. However, the tremor of the bog this time was beyond their expectation. Since the rattan monsters had been wiped out, the vibration seemed to happen earlier than usual. The 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group were all at the Nirvana realm but still lingered in this swamp because they thought that the tremor would not be arising for a while, and thus, they still had some hope. Nevertheless, as soon as the tremor had just come up this time, the 4 of them were immediately anxious. They nodded to Shi Yang, indicating that they wanted to leave right away to return to the ground with the fastest speed. Laro Li and Laro Lun, you two should go out too. Seeing the panic on the faces of the 4 people of Yi Zhongfeng's group, Shi Yang also felt cold inside as he decided quickly. The 2 brothers were not reckless people. They looked at each other and gratefully nodded to Shi Yang. They didn't dare to hesitate and hurriedly ran to the exit together with Yi Zhongfeng's group. The faces of Nirvana realm warriors from other teams in the swamp discolored as well. It seemed they all could sense something not good was coming, so they rushed out towards the exit just like Yi Zhongfeng and his team. The quiet swamp now suddenly clamored again. One Nirvana realm warrior rushed to the entrance amidst the vibrant sound. As Yi Zhongfeng was taking the lead with the fastest speed, he was the first one who dashed through the exit. Boom! A heavy sound reverberated through the entire swamp area. The sound arose from the direction of the exit. Thick blood smoke stuck onto the dark green shimmering exit and seemed to form a defensive barrier that prevented anyone from going out. Yi Zhongfeng dashed forward, but not only could he not break it, but was also pressed down by a massive force. His body was like a bloody shell directly falling into the swamp. He suddenly screamed out loud. A fiery fire burst out from his body. This fire released a terrifying heat, burning the blood into smog. A first sky of Nirvana realm warrior of another team also had the same consequence. When he stormed towards the exit, the same force pressed him down, making him fall into the swamp while being covered with blood. This warrior didn't have heaven flame like Yi Zhongfeng, and thus, when his body was soaked in blood, he mournfully cried in pain. His body emitted a faint blood-red smog, and under everyone's attentive looks, his skin quickly fell off, exposing his white bones. Extremely erosive poison. The countenances of everyone in the swamp changed. Those warriors whose feet were in the swamp were aware of the blood's changes, which started to erode their profound qi. Even Shi Yang's face also changed, as he also could feel this kind of erosive poison existing. However, this erosive poison seemed to be much slower, and its toxicity was much less dangerous in other areas. Many warriors around, who were stained with blood, didn't scream mournfully right away, as the blood didn't dissolve their bodies. It seemed that only those in the swamp got affected by the extreme erosive poison. Seeing that warrior being eroded and dissolved, Ling Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng, who did want to fly up out of this place, changed their visages immediately due to the fright, not knowing if they should advance or retreat. At this moment, if they left, they would encounter the strong defensive barrier, and probably would be pressed down by a certain force. Their bodies would then soak in that blood, be eroded and dissolved. However, if they didn't leave, the vibration, which had started already, would shatter their spirits, as they couldn't resist with their low cultivation base. Therefore, regardless of leaving or not, it seemed that they only had a dead end ahead of them. Lin Ji's group, Laro Li and Laro Lun all wore a desperate look. Laro Li, Laro Lun, come back here. We'll see. Shi Yang contemplated for a while and suddenly shouted. Yi Zhongfeng, you guys should also get back here right now. That place isn't safe. Maybe, it's the most dangerous place. Yi Zhongfeng was startled for a moment, and then reacted immediately, talking to the other three of his group. Go. Let's get back first. The two Laro brothers had already left with their fastest speed. Their feet didn't even touch the ground as they directly rushed back to Shi Yang's location. Yi Zhongfeng, Lin Ji, and the other two didn't dare to hesitate any longer. Although they could not pierce through the sky to fly, they still put all of their efforts in urging their Nirvana realm power and gathering all of their flying ability. Finally, they could fly up and rush back. The people of Shi Yang's group were all at the sky realm, so they could fly up away from the swamp surface and hover in the air. Seeing the Laro brothers and the members of Yi Zhongfeng's group coming back with a frightened face, Shi Yang's eyes suddenly brightened. A bone-chilling energy poured into the swamp beneath him. Under the cold energy, blood in the swamp was frozen and formed an iceberg, around 10 square meters large, enough for the Laro brothers and Yi Zhongfeng's group to land. While Laro Li and those people were worried that they couldn't keep floating in the air for too long, they saw the iceberg that Shi Yang had just created. They were overjoyed, landing on that blood ice rock. Friends, please help. As other Nirvana realm warriors also saw it, they all begged Shi Yang and rushed over at the same time, landing on that iceberg together with Laro Li, Yi Zhongfeng, and the others. The Nirvana realm warriors did want to leave the swamp area, but as they saw one warrior get killed bloodily, they became much more obedient and landed on the iceberg which Shi Yang had used the ice-cold flame to create. Most of the other warriors gathering in other places were at the sky realm, so they could fly. Seeing their fellows all gather at Shi Yang's place, those warriors hesitated for a while before flying over. Pound, pound. The vibration sounds became dense and seemed to pierce through people's hearts, making their souls tremble. It was unknown when the Nirvana realm warriors, who were standing on the iceberg, all their faces and ears red. Their eyes gradually changed from frightened to dazed, even revealing a crazy, bloodthirsty intent. Just with a quick glance, Shi Yang knew that those warriors might not be able to bear the first tremor. They would quickly lose their mind. We should kill them first. Zhao Feng frowned, looking at Yi Zhongfeng and others and giving a ruthless proposal. Those who are at the Nirvana realm will certainly lose their minds soon. They will destroy everyone they see. We should take the opportunity to resolve them while they are still half awake. Some members of the Divine Radiant cult also nodded. That's right. The Sky Realm warriors, who were gathering here, were boisterous, seeming to agree with Zhao Feng's suggestion. Chapter 418, Corpse-Eating Demonic Insect. Chapter 418, Corpse-Eating Demonic Insect. We should proceed as soon as possible, said a chunky Sky Realm warrior who swept over, looking at the Nirvana Realm warriors who were standing on the iceberg. In the swamp, blood bubbles emerged from time to time. Whenever those blood bubbles ruptured, scarlet blood mist emitted everywhere, scattering above the swamp. You don't have any of your fellows there? Shi Yang was also standing on the iceberg, coldly looking at him as he asked. Yes. That chunky warrior grinned and said heartlessly. Those two are our Devil Valley's members. I do it for the sake of everyone. Once they lose their mind, they will crazily attack everyone. It's not fun at all. While talking, he pointed to the two Nirvana Realm warriors who were wearing dark blue clothing that looked the same as the one on his body. Brother, do not have a woman's benevolence. You can save them for now, but when they lose their minds later, you will become the one who suffers. It's better to act decisively, taking the opportunity when they aren't crazy to kill them. Another Sky Realm warrior proposed. Zhao Feng, Li Yu, and the others also nodded, waiting for Shi Yang's order to kill the Laro brothers, Yi Zhongfeng, and the other Nirvana Realm warriors without hesitation. Kai Xiao's face became cold. At this moment, he suddenly felt glad that he didn't let Zuoshu and Zuosha come down here. If they were here, they would have been in the same situation of these Nirvana Realm warriors, being sacrificed for other warriors' sake. It was unknown whether or not it was an intrinsic indifferent nature of the warriors from the Divine Great Land that they unexpectedly didn't care for their own people. In their hearts, as long as there was a threat from someone, they would kill those as soon as possible to avoid troubles later. Cai Yi's beautiful eyes flickered non-stop. She didn't say anything, just subconsciously looked at Shi Yang, awaiting his decision. If you want to do it with your people. As for our people, we don't bother you to help. We will have our own way. Shi Yang frowned, looking at Laro Li, Laro Lun, and Yi Zhongfeng's group. He hesitated a little bit before coldly raking through the Sky Realm warriors around. You do have a lady's heart. The chunky warriors grunted and said with disdain. Your deed isn't good for them. When you have to take actions later, they might have even worse deaths. Perhaps even their corpses could not stay intact. We'll solve our own matters. It will have nothing to do with you. Shi Yang was standing on the iceberg as he raised his left hand. A flow of fiery flame shot out from his fingertip, like a fire sword hacking the iceberg and splitting it in half. The Laro brothers and the people of Yi Zhongfeng's group stood in one half of the iceberg, and the other warriors in the other. Shi Yang's profound chi was activated. The part of the iceberg with Laro Li, Yi Zhongfeng, and the others slowly moved away from the other part. You can do whatever you want to those people. But I don't allow you to put your hands on mine. Coldly looking around, Shi Yang gradually moved his part of the iceberg to a corner of the swamp. Brat, you are only at the first sky of Sky Realm, but your tone is so arrogant. The chunky warrior sneered and glared at Zhao Feng. Divine Radiant cult's people come to this bog with the same purpose, that is to get the pure God soul. For this purpose, sacrificing some people should be an obvious matter. You are a leader but cannot control this. Damn you. Stop talking nonsense. We will do whatever we want. Don't put your nose into our business, said Zhao Feng with rage. Despite the fact that Zhao Feng didn't agree with Shi Yang's decision, once Shi Yang was determined, he didn't oppose him. Instead, he would stand on his side. In Zhao Feng's eyes, Shi Yang's future would be the most brilliant in the divine radiant cult. Moreover, when Shi Yang was only at the third sky of Nirvana realm, he had already been able to kill a third sky of Skyream warrior. Therefore, Zhao Feng respected him a lot, not treating him like an ordinary warrior. As you wish. The stout warrior grinned and flew over to the other piece of iceberg. He said to the warriors who were gathering around, "Your decision and mine should be consistent, right?" Those warriors also nodded. The short and stout warrior looked at Zhao Feng with a cold visage. "If it's the case, when I take action, it shouldn't be your business, right?" "As you wish." Zhao Feng looked at Shi Yang and nodded after seeing no reaction from Shi Yang. Boom boom. A bunch of swarthy lights suddenly flew out from the chunky warrior's cuffs. The evil light turned into a wicked, hideous soul beast midway, jumping into the group of Nirvana realm warriors standing on that piece of iceberg. When the evil light hit those Nirvana realm warriors, whose eyes were dazed, their bodies were torn apart and destroyed from the inside. Even their souls were eradicated. In just the blink of an eye, the bodies of 6 Nirvana realm warriors on the iceberg were split open, losing all their vitality. Streams of these corpses' aura quickly flew toward Shi Yang. From 20 meters away, Shi Yang's acupuncture points also spun fast, resulting in a strong suction force that attracted those streams' aura into his body. Not long after that, he had completely absorbed the aura from those dead warriors. His 720 acupuncture points didn't have any pain or swelling. Inside, the streams of aura were quickly condensed and transformed, faintly revealing the vibration that could affect people's mood. After entering the sky realm, the mystery martial spirit could accommodate the aura. It seemed to have leaped up to a new level as well. The aura of the 6 dead Nirvana realm warriors inside his acupuncture points was not too much. When his acupuncture points transformed and refined the aura, his mind was still conscious, without any signs of chaos. With the higher realm, the mystery martial spirit's capacity was increased. Even the refining speed was also much faster. People from a distance could realize the surge of the refined aura. Looking at Laro Li, who now had crazy eyes, Shi Yang hesitated for a while before suddenly urging the ice-cold flame's power. A flow of cold air shot out from his palms like water snakes, drilling into the Laro brothers, Lin Ji, Luo Xiao, and Luo Meng. Under the cold air's infiltration, these people's bodies gradually froze up. Not long after, they looked just like ice sculptures. Only Yi Zhongfeng was safe under the penetration of the ice-cold flame's power. The purgatory true flame in his body proactively produced a fiery flame to offset all the ice power of the ice-cold flame that got into his body. After the ice-cold flame had penetrated his body, Yi Zhongfeng's eyes became evil, and his whole body emitted a vicious aura. It was as if the blood-red smog, which was still hovering around without dispersing, seemed to have realized something, that it unexpectedly surrounded Yi Zhongfeng. Thump thump, thump thump. The vibration sounds continued to resound from the swamp. Yi Zhongfeng gradually lost his mind. In the middle of the blood-red smog, he suddenly howled drearily as if some kind of an evil force had invaded his soul, making him unable to control his mind. At the same time, waves suddenly rippled in the bog. In the center of those ripples, a giant dead tree slowly floated from the bottom of the bog, as if being driven by some strength. It then stuck out of the swamp. This giant tree had no foliage, and had been dried for an unknown period of time. However, it was incredibly huge when it came out, gradually overwhelming the entire swamp. The giant tree was covered with thumb-sized, dark green insects, which seemed like they fed on dead creatures. They all had a very thick crustacean shell. Countless dark green insects slowly crawled on the giant tree. More and more insects got out from inside the tree and then spread throughout the swamp. Corpse-eating demonic insect. Zhao Feng's face changed, and he shouted. As soon as the other warriors in the swamp area heard his scream, their faces all changed dramatically, as if they were encountering a pandemic. They immediately showed all kinds of secret defensive treasures and martial techniques, protecting their bodies carefully as they were scared of being touched by those insects. These insects first crawled on the giant tree and quickly covered the whole tree in just a short time, producing buzzing sounds. Those hundreds of creeping insects had flesh wings come out from their shells. They flew up from the tree and circled above the swamp. Shiyang, be careful. Those demon insects feast on human brains. They are extremely terrible. Once it gets into your brain, it'll eat even the spinal fluid, and only your corpse will remain. Cai Yi's face was cold while her beautiful eyes beamed out a trace of fear. She quietly came close to Shiyang. The ancient tree slowly rose from the swamp. When the giant tree covered the entire swamp, its roots suddenly emitted a milky halo. Inside that milky halo, a crystal lotus throne gradually emerged. No one stood on this crystal lotus throne, but it was emitting an earth-shaking aura. Rich heaven and earth aura spread out from the lotus throne, making the faces of the warriors in the swamp change. After taking in a breath of heaven and earth aura, they all felt relaxed and happy. When the thick heaven and earth aura flowed out, the blood-red smog, which was hovering around, suddenly flocked to the crystal petals of the lotus throne. During the process, the lotus throne's heart flashed a beam of white light and then disappeared. A heart-shaped object emerged from the center, releasing an ivory liquid that made people's souls tremble. That liquid gurgled and produced thumping sounds. Many flows of surging energy shot out from it, which seemed to crack people's souls. Life original fluid. Zhao Feng's eyes suddenly reddened. He grunted and revealed a greedy look. Chapter 419, Life Original Fluid. Chapter 419, Life Original Fluid. That heart-shaped utensil was as big as a walnut. The milky fluid inside it was pitifully little, only 5 or 6 drops at maximum. However, that small amount of liquid made all the Sky Realm warriors in the swamp go crazy. Hearing Zhao Feng shout life original fluid, these warriors' faces all reddened with sharp, burning eyes. Even their breathing became heavier. In their eyes, the milky fluid seemed to be the most precious liquid in heaven and earth, as if it could make anyone abandon their lives just to have it. On the crystal lotus, that heart-shaped object flashed up and then disappeared so fast that most of the warriors there couldn't see it, except for hearing Zhao Feng's shout. However, after that shout, the warriors seemed to forget everything, not even caring about the terrifying corpse-eating demonic insects. They rushed towards the heart-shaped utensil at the fastest speed. The divine radiant cult's disciples Zhao Feng, Li Yu, and the others were no exception. They covered themselves with defensive halos to avoid the siege of the corpse-eating demonic insects while storming towards that heart-shaped utensil with greedy faces. Shiyang dropped his jaw, looking dumbstruck. Even when Zhao Feng and Li Yu faced the sacred-level secret treasure in the exotic land previously, they had not been as impulsive as they were now. In their eyes, the so-called life original fluid seemed to be much more precious than the sacred-level secret treasures. Because of this fluid, it seemed they could even risk their lives. Although he didn't know the exact effects of this life original fluid, from the others' performance, he knew that this thing was scarce, and certainly had an irresistible attraction to warriors. Otherwise, those warriors wouldn't have become that crazy. On the way rushing to the lotus, 3 of those Sky Realm warriors were suddenly covered by countless demonic insects. Under Shiyang's scrutinizing look, the corpse-eating demonic insects quickly ate the defensive halos of those 3 warriors. When their defensive energy halos were bitten off, the corpse-eating demonic insects took the opportunity to drill into their bodies, producing excited noise as they moved towards their victims' brains. Shiyang could see the corpse-eating demonic insects subtly move under their skin, which gave him a creepy feeling. Those corpse-eating demonic insects soon gnawed those 3 people's brains and also ate their eyeballs, giving them a horrible death. The corpse-eating demonic insects also attacked many other warriors. Those corpse-eating demonic insects seemed to be defending something. As long as someone dared to come close to the crystal lotus, they would rush over and then used their strange ability to tear down the warriors' defensive energy halos as well as secret treasures. Even their armors were munched down. The corpse-eating demonic insects could eat anything from energy armors to the fleshy bodies. These defenses could prevent them for a while, but couldn't really stop them completely. Shiyang and Cai Yi were standing in a remote corner, not hurriedly rushing over. Therefore, the corpse-eating demonic insects didn't make them their main targets. Cai Yi had a hovering halo around her body. Her beautiful, Sharp Eyes also stared at the crystal lotus, but she didn't dare to act rashly. 10 corpse-eating demonic insects were surrounding her body, chewing her defensive halo little by little. Because the number of them was small, Cai could deal with them comfortably, unlike those arrogant warriors whose defenses were broken in a short time, and they had their brains eaten afterward. What is life original fluid? The energy of the starlight covering Shi Yang's body was reduced little by a little because there were around 10 corpse-eating demonic insects were gnawing at it. He had to release more star power to maintain the presence of his star shield. While guarding against the insects, Shi Yang looked at Cai and asked with doubt. It said that life original fluid is one of the 3 kinds of sacred water. It can wash the origin of life so that a living being can have inconceivable changes. Cai's eyes flashed a terrifying look. Life original fluid is an extremely effective support for the third sky of spirit realm warriors to enter the true God realm. If a third sky of spirit realm warrior has 1 drop of life original fluid and absorbs it into the life magnetic field of his host soul, then he can break through the true God realm and enhance his strength greatly. Shi Yang looked stunned. You may know that the later the phase of warrior's cultivation is, the slower the progress he can make, and the harder the perception and the comprehension would be. Most of spirit realm warriors will stay at their third sky forever, hardly entering that threshold. Although there are many spirit realm warriors in our divine great land, none of them are able to enter the true God realm. The probability is too low. Life original fluid can help third sky of spirit realm warriors enhance the opportunity to break through. Cai's face was full of excitement. While talking, she couldn't help but continuously stare at the crystal lotus. She clearly had a huge greed for the life original fluid on the crystal lotus. Countless insects flew around above the bog, like locusts gathering near the crystal lotus. They attacked the warriors who dared to come close, chewing and tearing apart all of their defenses. In that crystal lotus, the life original fluid flashed and disappeared from time to time. Every time it appeared, it boiled up the surrounding warriors' blood and made them show their greedy eyes. Rich heaven and earth aura spread out from the inside the crystal lotus. Ivory smog emerged and hovered without dispersing. Standing 100 meters away from the aura, Shi Yang was also excited and had a graceful, wonderful feeling. In the dark magnetic noxious mist, although the heaven and earth energy of the other areas no longer existed, such rich heaven and earth aura still existed in the underground of this exotic land. This surprised him a lot. It was like all of heaven and earth aura that had disappeared in the dark magnetic noxious mist now gathered in this area, providing some kind of necessary energy so that the life original fluid could be preserved until now. At a particular time, it would arise from the bottom of the swamp. As the heaven and earth aura is incredibly strong, perhaps I should try to let the Holy Spirit God out. Shi Yang kept staring at that direction for a moment. His mind seemed to be triggered as he suddenly remembered something. He then urged his mind to connect with the blood vein ring, looking to the place where the Holy Spirit God was hibernating and releasing a soul consciousness. The heaven and earth aura in this place is extremely rich. It may supplement your consumed energy. Do you want to come out and absorb it? The Holy Spirit God didn't respond after a long while. Shi Yang focused his mind once again, bringing all the spiritual consciousness together and striking towards the direction of the Holy Spirit God in the blood vein ring. His spiritual consciousness twisted into a straight line, forming a bunch of light and then drilling into the center of the Holy Spirit God. Good. The Holy Spirit God finally had a weak response with a deep sense of exhaustion, like a dying old man. This gave Shi Yang a feeling of weakness and tiredness. Shi Yang's face slightly changed, as he felt a little guilty. He quickly opened his mind to let it fly out of the blood vein ring. The blood vein ring was a strong confinement to the ice-cold flame. However, its treatment for the Holy Spirit God and the earth flame was different. If the Holy Spirit God and the earth flame wanted to come out, the blood vein ring would not stop them, and let them go freely. The Holy Spirit God turned into a light beam slowly fluttering towards the crystal lotus. Shi Yang quietly observed it. After the Holy Spirit God came out, he saw that the hovering heaven and earth aura seemed to be attracted, actually storming towards the Holy Spirit God, pouring into its special life structure. The feeble aura of the Holy Spirit God gradually grew up while the surging spirit was slow and frequent. It seemed to be recovering quickly. The recovery speed was slow at first, but now it accelerated a lot faster with the supplementation of the earth and heaven aura. While the Sky Realm warriors were facing the corpse-eating demonic insects' attack, the Holy Spirit God turned into a bunch of light and was the first one who jumped into the crystal lotus. It flashed and disappeared into the crystal lotus. The connection between Shi Yang and the Holy Spirit God was suddenly cut off by the crystal lotus throne. Feeling cold at heart, Shi Yang was a little worried, attentively looking at that direction. After the Holy Spirit God jumped in, the releasing speed of heaven and earth aura from the crystal lotus throne suddenly slowed down. Even the heaven and earth aura that was already diffused also slowly retreated and poured back into the lotus throne. "Is that light beam yours?" Cai was standing next to him, watching him closely. She blankly watched the light from the ring on his finger flying out, avoiding all of the corpse-eating demonic insects and getting into the crystal lotus. It also caused the lotus's mutation, which terrified Cai a lot. She couldn't help but ask. Shi Yang nodded indifferently. Cai's eyes suddenly brightened. "What is it?" "A strange life that can absorb heaven and earth aura." He hesitated for a moment before reluctantly explaining. "What?" Cai was startled, covering her mouth. She looked at the crystal lotus throne and said with astonishment. "Then, can it get the life original fluid? If it really can, your struggle in entering the true God realm in the future would be much easier than the others. Besides, I've also heard that the life original fluid has another effect that is really magical." Shi Yang was startled. He wanted to communicate with the Holy Spirit God. However, after some attempts, he realized that he couldn't find the Holy Spirit God's aura, not even a tiny bit. Life original fluid is one of the 3 kinds of sacred water. In the divine Great Land, it seems to exist only in the legends. I have never heard that any big forces possess it. If you can have this sacred water, I think you can negotiate with the Pure Land to exchange for your friend. Cai's eyes shone brightly. Shi Yang's eyes also lit up. Chapter 420, Take It On. Chapter 420, Take It On. Shi Yang's desire for this life original fluid was not particularly strong. After all, he was still far from the third sky of spirit realm. He was not really in need of this life original fluid at this time. Thus, he didn't crazily chase after it like Zhaofeng and the others. However, after listening to Cai, he gave it a second thought. He didn't hesitate anymore. Whether the Holy Spirit God could harvest something in the crystal lotus throne or not, he would also want to compete for that life original fluid now. "Do you want to go?" Cai smiled gently and encouraged him. "This thing has a powerful attraction to those warriors. We'll enter the true God realm eventually. If you have this life original fluid, you can use it in the future. Other than that, the life original fluid also has another effect. From a certain extent, the value of it may be more precious than the pure God soul." Shi Yang's eyes were shining. He nodded without saying anything further and began to move towards the crystal lotus throne, together with Zhaofeng and the other warriors. His muscles silently bulged while his skin turned purple. Moreover, he also condensed all of his profound chi into a dark light shield to resist a large number of the corpse-eating demonic insects that might barge onto him. Above the crystal lotus throne, many warriors were being covered by the demonic insects. There were tens of thousands of insects producing buzzing sounds, constantly eating the defensive forces that those warriors released. When he came to the top of the crystal lotus, hundreds of insects covered him immediately like shooting stars. The insects rushed to the dark light shield, their sharp teeth gnawed at his profound chi halo on the dark light shield little by little. The corpse-eating demonic insects could not only eat all kinds of protective armors, but also erode a lot of energy. The dark light on the dark light shield became gloomier under the corpse-eating demonic insects' attack. More profound chi was spread out from his body and crazily poured into the dark light shield. Under the perfusion of his profound chi and the dark light shield being eaten continuously by the insects, if he didn't release his profound chi, he could not keep the dark shield from infringement. Zhao Feng and the 3/3 sky of Sky Realm warriors were rushing towards the lotus with either a dazzling light or special defensive armors to protect their bodies. Amidst the threat caused by the insects, they slowly descended to the center of the crystal lotus throne. Countless demonic insects slowly showed up at the heart of the crystal lotus throne, giving people a creepy feeling. The insects on the crystal lotus throne were slightly larger. Tens of them had silver scales, as well as ancient, serpentine patterns. These 10 corpse-eating demonic insects didn't seem to be ordinary. Their entire bodies were emitting dazzling lights and gloomy auras. When Zhao Feng and the 3/3 sky of Sky Realm warriors came close to the crystal lotus throne, those silver insects suddenly flew out from the lotus, producing an ear-splitting howl which seemed to be capable of tearing people's eardrums. From 100 meters away, Cai's graceful body even trembled, as she revealed a frightened face. The sea of consciousness of those warriors, who came close to the crystal lotus, seemed to be pierced through by a spear-like surging spirit. Zhao Feng and the 3/3 sky of Sky Realm warriors were agitated, showing a painful expression on their faces while their bodies suddenly stagnated. 10 silver demonic insects flew out, blending with other hundreds of insects, and began to chew off the defensive forces of Zhao Feng and the other 3 warriors. The light beams containing sun flame power shot out like arrows from Zhao Feng's palms, aggressively stabbing the silver insects. Dang dang. When the sunlight from his body hit the silver insect's shells, the collision-like sounds echoed. Those silver insects weren't affected at all. They continued eroding the halo on his body. Under the erosion caused by the silver insects, his halo unexpectedly ruptured open quickly, causing Zhao Feng's face to pale instantly. He couldn't help but haul out a dark blue cloak and put it on. The dark blue cloak was a spirit-level secret treasure with surging energy of wood class. As soon as Zhao Feng had put the dark blue cloak on, the rich wood energy began to flow all over his body. Dead rattan demons around seemed to be attracted, gathering and condensing into a large wooden armor on the dark blue cloak. To get the life original fluid, Zhao Feng had taken out his spirit-level secret treasure, covering his entire body to resist the silver insect's attacks. Seeing Zhao Feng use his secret treasure, the 3/3 sky of Sky Realm warriors no longer hesitated, taking out the secret defensive treasures from their storage rings to wrap themselves up. However, even so, the 4 of them still didn't seem to be able to bear the erosion caused by the insects. The secret treasures of the 4 of them were completely bitten off in just a short time. Zhao Feng's dark blue cloak and the rattan demons that covered the cloak were broken. They even made small pinholes on his cloak. Fortunately, there was the sun-refined light that Zhao Feng had condensed under the cloak. Only a double defense could prevent the silver insects from drilling into the body. As warriors had different levels, their distance from the crystal lotus throne was not consistent. The other top-level warriors and Zhao Feng were slowly sneaking into the crystal lotus throne and fighting against the terrifying silver insects. Those who had lower cultivation base were still outside the crystal lotus. They were strenuously resisting hundreds of insects' besiege. However, their eyes kept glued on the crystal lotus. The first sky of Sky Realm warriors like Cai stayed outside, not daring to come close to the crystal lotus throne, as they were afraid of the swarm of those insects. On the crystal lotus throne, after the insects appeared, the frequency of emergence of the heart-shaped utensil was getting higher and higher. Looking at the life original fluid inside, the warriors around all revealed a crazed countenance. At this time, Shiyang's entire body was now purple and covered with the dark light shield outside and the star shield inside. He also slowly moved towards the crystal lotus throne. Hundreds of insects then rushed over him, gnawing his defense while he slowly dived into the lotus. Only he was a first sky of Sky Realm warrior who went into the crystal lotus, together with other 3rd sky of Sky Realm warriors. He gradually moved closer to Zhao Feng. The closer he came to the crystal lotus throne, the stronger the resistance he could feel. On the top of the crystal lotus throne existed a firm layer of a barrier. As long as he descended on the crystal lotus, the barrier would certainly affect him. The closer he got to the crystal lotus, the stronger the resistance of this barrier was. A violent energy burst out from Shiyang's body while his eyes turned red. He was entering the 2nd sky of the Sky Realm. He forcefully pushed the barrier and quickly came to Zhao Feng. Seeing Shi Yang be able to come this close to the crystal lotus throne with only the first sky of Sky Realm cultivation base, many warriors in the surroundings were startled. Shi Yang, you also come here? Zhao Feng laughed. Be careful. You are indeed extraordinary. Even Li, you could not come here because of those insects. I didn't expect that you could do so. Ha ha ha, I really didn't mistake you. Brat, the closer you are, the faster you will die. You'd better leave soon to avoid an inexplicable death. The chunky warrior coldly looked at him and ridiculed. I'm sure you will die before me, Shi Yang said with a calm face. He suddenly took out the sky-breaking shuttle and immersed his mind in it. Can you break that annoying barrier to go into the crystal lotus throne? Yes. But I'll need 1/3 of your profound chi. Moreover, the creatures inside that crystal lotus throne are mighty. Once you enter there, you'll obviously be submerged by the insects. Can you deal with them then? You don't need to worry about this. You just need to break the barrier for me. Okay. A dazzling light beam suddenly shot out from underneath Shi Yang's feet. This beam of light carried the sharpness that could pierce through all kinds of barriers, and directly broke the barrier on the crystal lotus throne. 1/3 of his profound chi was consumed. Shi Yang didn't dare to have the slightest hesitation, turning into a bunch of starlights while penetrating into the crystal lotus throne when the barrier was cracked open. He was the first one who landed in the center of the crystal lotus throne. Thousands of insects crazily swarmed over and quickly covered the dark light shield in just a short moment. The profound chi on the dark light shield disappeared at an incredible speed. In just 3 seconds, half of the dark light shield had been nibbled off. That brat got in there already. What? How come? With his realm, how could he do that? This guy must have a strange secret treasure. Otherwise, he absolutely couldn't have entered the place. Seeing him be the first one who had entered the crystal lotus throne, other warriors all screamed out loud with disbelieving faces. Cai Yi's eyes suddenly brightened, she beamed a smile from the corner of her mouth. She knew that Shi Yang had a strange secret treasure that could tear down all kinds of barriers. In the dark magnetic noxious mist, Shi Yang had used it along the way to escape many dangers, proving his real ability. Seeing Shi Yang be the first one who had entered the crystal lotus, she was not surprised. On the contrary, she felt happy, eyeing Shi Yang and awaiting his next action. It was unknown why Cai Yi always felt that if he put all of his strength to get the life original fluid, none of the warriors in this swamp could compete against him. Although Shi Yang had just reached the first sky of Sky Realm, his performance along the way had convinced Cai Yi. She always felt that Shi Yang could achieve things that ordinary people couldn't. Facts had proved that her feeling was not wrong. Shi Yang was the first one who fell into the crystal lotus throne. Right now, his entire body was covered with corpse-eating demonic insects, and his dark light shield was also shaking, as if it would collapse in a short time. On the crystal lotus throne, Shi Yang was crazily pouring all of his profound chi into the dark light shield and injecting the star power of the star martial spirit into the star shield. Moreover, he also pushed all of his strength to prepare to deal with the insects after the star shield was broken. Meanwhile, his eyes were anxiously looking for the heart-shaped utensil. Surprisingly, all of a sudden, he no longer saw that heart-shaped utensil on the crystal lotus. Chapter 421, Surging Tide Mind. Chapter 421, Surging Tide Mind. 10 silver insects quietly flew out from the crystal lotus throne and then drilled into Shi Yang's dark light shield. These silver insects were obviously different from the other typical insects. They had a more powerful strength and faster energy absorption speed than the normal demonic insects. 10 silver demonic insects showed their sharp teeth and mercilessly bit on the dark light shield. The massive profound chi on the dark light shield disappeared quickly. In just 3 seconds, the dark light shield covering Shi Yang's body was broken under the erosion caused by the 10 silver demonic insects. The speed of Shi Yang's profound chi injection was unable to catch up with the silver insect's absorption. Shi Yang felt cold in his heart. His complexion also changed as he anxiously looked for the heart-shaped utensil. He wanted to get the life original fluid as soon as possible. The warriors who were close to him were even more nervous than him. While dealing with the demonic insects, they also looked at him with sharp eyes, and were ready to intervene, revealing the intent of snatching the heart-shaped utensil that would show up in any minute. After tearing down the dark light shield, the 10 silver insects quickly bit off one layer of the star shield inside without the slightest hesitation. The star shield was condensed from the star power, containing the profound meaning of the sidereal revolution of the star's cycle and the eternal existence of the ancient truth. A ray of starlight formed the star sea pattern and released an immortal conception that would never extinguish. The star shield's defense was obviously better than the dark light shield, and that too not just by one level. Under the gnawing of the silver insects, the disappearing speed of the star power on the star shield was much slower. Even so, the star power that stayed hidden on the star shield still gradually faded. If this situation continued, the star shield might not be able to resist any longer after half a minute. The heart-shaped object still hadn't shown up yet. Shi Yang's eyes were serious, attentively looking at the crystal lotus. His body turned purple, preparing to resist the corpse-eating demonic insect's attack with his own flesh. Shi Yang, get out. You cannot bear it anymore. Zhao Feng, who was above the crystal lotus throne, couldn't help but shout in fear. These silver insects have higher levels. Even I can't resist them for long. If you continue to stay on the crystal lotus throne, the insects will bite and eat all of your body. Not far from there, Kai Xiao also frowned and asked Shi Yang to leave. It was unknown when Cai Yi had already reached here. From 20 meters away, she revealed a look of concern seeing Shi Yang anxiously look for the life original fluid. She didn't ask Shi Yang to go out though. She didn't know why, but she felt that Shi Yang had another secret treasure that could bring the life original fluid out of the crystal lotus. The warriors near there were all submerged under the insects, and thus, they had to put forth all of their strength to fight against them. Although they also wanted to jump into the crystal lotus throne, they didn't have any breaking barrier treasure like the sky-breaking shuttle. They could only resist the barrier's energy of the crystal lotus throne and slowly move closer to the crystal lotus throne. Kid, you really don't know life or death. With your Sky Realm cultivation base, you still have the guts to compete for the life original fluid. Even if you can get it, do you think you can bring it out? The chunky warrior grinned and revealed ruthless look. He was secretly well prepared. As long as Shi Yang could bring out the life original fluid from the crystal lotus throne, he would not hesitate to take action, snatching it from Shi Yang's hand directly. He even hoped that Shi Yang could really succeed in taking the life original fluid. If Shi Yang could do so, he wouldn't have to take the risk to enter the crystal lotus throne or deal with these insects, which were getting stronger and stronger. In his thoughts, snatching the life original fluid from Shi Yang's hands was much easier than taking it from those insects. Shi Yang basically didn't pay attention to the other's words, but he was looking anxiously at the crystal lotus throne. When the starlight on the star shield died out, he suddenly let go of his soul consciousness and poured it in the crystal lotus throne. A kind of spiritual light rippled like a sponge and spread out from the crystal lotus, like rippling waves. Inside the crystal lotus throne, there was another spiritual barrier that also prevented the soul consciousness exploration. In that spiritual light, the soul consciousness that Shi Yang had released was completely blocked, unexpectedly unable to penetrate any further. Not only that, his soul consciousness seemed to trigger some barrier on the crystal lotus throne. A violent vibration, strong enough to explode people's mind, came out from the crystal lotus. Under the impact of this tremor, the warriors in the swamp all trembled, as if a giant hammer strongly hit their hearts. But Shi Yang actually bore the full brunt of the attack. Amidst that violent shock, various mysterious forces in his body crazily struggled with each other like runaway horses. P2E. Shi Yang spurted out a mouthful blood. His body staggered on the crystal lotus throne, standing unsteadily. His muscles shivered in the tremor. Thousands of strands of strange powers all poured out, flooding his internal system. As his petrifaction martial spirit had reached the peak, it could produce a mutation at the crucial time and play a vital defensive role. The violent spiritual impact from the crystal lotus could make warriors who were even far away almost stagger, as they couldn't withstand this extremely fierce vibration. Under the help of the martial spirit, Shi Yang was standing firmly on the crystal lotus throne, and luckily, didn't have a mental breakdown. The third eye of the host soul opened in his sea of consciousness. The soul-devouring energy of the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame turned into a cluster of small flames, running up to the sea of consciousness. The violent vibration that could damage ordinary warrior's mind was quickly surrounded by the cluster of small 9 serenities soul-devouring flames. Before the surging spirit could damage Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame already burned it into ashes, turning it into nihility. With the help of the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame, his sea of consciousness restored instantly, and his mind was not affected. At this moment, he finally saw the mysterious heart-shaped utensil, which had disappeared before, and then he saw the life-original fluid gurgling from it. The life-original fluid was on the crystal lotus throne. Inside the transparent crystal, there was a dazzling, strange spot that was emitting sparkling rays of light. It was also constantly releasing vehement, surging spiritual vibrations. The heart-shaped utensil was like the eye of the magic formation inlaid in the crystal lotus throne. It constantly circled inside the crystal lotus throne, reflecting different kinds of lights from time to time, which revealed the heart-shaped utensil occasionally. However, that spot was shrouded by a big number of demonic insects. As long as those insects didn't move, they would entirely cover the heart-shaped utensil, making it unable to reveal itself. Only when the demonic insects began to move did the heart-shaped utensil flash up from time to time. It has appeared. The chunky warrior was observing Shi Yang's movement closely. When the heart-shaped utensil reappeared, he couldn't help but scream with joy. All of the warriors breathed rapidly, as they were quietly waiting and preparing all kinds of martial techniques and secret treasures. Crack, crack. Glass-breaking sound arose. The 10 silver demonic insects pursued him closely after having chewed off his star shield. Shi Yang's body was directly exposed without any defense on the crystal lotus. Hundreds of insects suddenly rushed over him. Dang, dang, dang. Crispy metal sounds came out from Shi Yang's body. Under everyone's scrutinizing looks, Shi Yang was still standing motionlessly like a rock. Unexpectedly, he was not gnawed by those insects. But his body was in extreme pain. A corpse-eating demonic insect bared its teeth, mercilessly stabbing in his flesh and then slowly penetrated it. The petrification martial spirit, which had been cultivated to the peak, had burst out all of its potential power. Countless strange powers in his body flowed out like a surging tide and began to form into many defensive circles to hinder those devouring insects. The corpse-eating demonic insects could bite off ordinary secret treasures and absorbed all kinds of power. However, they could not break the defense on his flesh body in a short time. Cai Yi's eyes lit up and covered her mouth in surprise. Kai Xiao was also stunned. His eyes and mouth were wide open while his face was full of astonishment. Zhao Feng looked down and was dumbfounded. He didn't know what to say at this moment. The other warriors suddenly clamored and screamed out loud as if they were watching a terrifying scene. With only the physical defense, with the erosive attack of those demonic insects, none of them could drill into Shi Yang's body. His sturdy figure was really amazing. He launched a fist with a landslide-like energy, mercilessly striking the crystal lotus throne. A great explosive sound suddenly came out from it. The crystal lotus throne slightly trembled. A small concave spot appeared at the center of the crystal lotus throne, but the transparent crystal was not broken after his attack. The hardness of the crystal lotus throne was out of his expectation. Many demonic insects were trying to penetrate his body, while many strange powers in his body were dealing with those insects together. If he couldn't get the life-original fluid sooner or later, he would not be able to resist any longer. Another fist was launched. The crystal lotus still wasn't broken. Shi Yang's eyes changed slightly. He was terrified inside, as he had a feeling of despair. Boom! Another punch was struck out. This punch carried all of his strength. Once the punch was launched, the demonic insects clutched in his fist were crushed to death. His fist was also torn. A drop of dark red blood suddenly rolled out. This was a drop of immortal blood. A ruber-like blood drop exuded and spread out brilliant scarlet lights that were filled with mysterious energy fluctuations. This drop of blood rolled on the crystal lotus throne for a while before infiltrating to its center. The crystal lotus throne suddenly had a mutation. Chapter 422, King of Demonic Insects. Chapter 422, King of Demonic Insects. Dark red blood, as translucent as a gem, quietly rolled into the crystal lotus throne. The crystal lotus throne still emitted a vehemently surging energy. After this red blood's infiltration, the crystal lotus throne suddenly released an evil consciousness, strong enough to submerge and perish all the warriors. On the crystal lotus throne, hundreds of silver demonic insects roared crazily and flew out. Zhao Feng and the others, who were staying above, all wore frightened faces. Seeing the silver demonic insects rush towards them, they subconsciously moved away from the crystal lotus throne as they felt something was wrong. A silver demonic insect, as big as a human face, came out from the crystal lotus throne. The crystal lotus throne revealed a gap. This demonic insect was 5 or 6 times bigger than the regular silver demonic insects, and it had beautiful, yet mysterious patterns on the body, as if it had a magical power that could oppress people's mind. Seeing that mysterious pattern on the insect's shell, those warriors who were observing this crystal lotus throne showed panicked eyes. All kinds of energy beams suddenly interweaved on the crystal lotus throne. As long as a warrior stared at this pattern for more than 10 seconds, they would get crazy instantly and take action against the warriors standing next to him, daringly attacking them. The biggest silver demonic insect came out from the crystal lotus throne. It had 2 shiny green oak eyes, as big as soybeans and emitting cold green lights filled with a bloodthirsty feeling. King of Demonic Insect. A level 8 beast. Zhao Feng suddenly screamed out loud with frightened eyes, then quickly moved away. Hearing Zhao Feng's ear-splitting cry, faces of warriors around all changed as if they had encountered ghosts. They subconsciously stepped away from the crystal lotus throne. Seeing the giant insect come out from the crystal lotus throne, the corpse-eating demonic insects that were flying in the sky became crazily bloodthirsty. They seemed to have received more power as the energy absorption rate got faster and faster when biting off and devouring the crowd. Although the number of warriors in the swamp was significant, none of them had a profound cultivation base greater than the Sky Realm. Meanwhile, the level 8 beasts could be comparable to the human spirit realm warriors. When this level 8 corpse-eating demonic insect appeared, everyone was panic-stricken and terrified. King of Demonic Insects was the leader of corpse-eating demonic insects. It had the characteristics of corpse-eating demonic insects as it could absorb all kinds of energy or eat humans, and also had a terrifying spiritual energy. As soon as this demonic insect appeared, there was a kind of surging spirit on top of the entire swamp that could explode people's heads. Under this type of spiritual fluctuation, each warrior's sea of consciousness shook endlessly. Those who had a low cultivation base had their sea of consciousness instantly attacked by these fluctuations, causing them to quickly bleed terribly. When the king of demonic insects appeared, Zhao Feng and the chunky warrior didn't dare to get closer to the crystal lotus throne. Both of them quickly moved away, as they were afraid of being seen by the king of demonic insects. At this time, Zhao Feng didn't have the time to remind Shi Yang as he needed to care for his own life first. Under these violent fluctuations, Cai Yi and Kai Xiao's minds were also damaged. Their faces paled as they could hardly bear it. Those who dared to stay within 50 meters near the crystal lotus throne were getting insane because of being affected by the king of demonic insects. Those people had lost their minds, and lingered near the crystal lotus throne to fight against one another. They didn't have any consciousness or sense of pain. They kept fighting each other around the crystal lotus throne. Under everyone's scrutinizing looks, warriors who had lost their mind continuously died in their opponents' hands in just a short time. Their deaths were extremely miserable. Their bodies were chopped off, or their limbs were torn down, or the insects chewed them off. Not long afterward, there were no more warriors who were still conscious. Only one person was standing in the center of the crystal lotus throne. It was Shi Yang. On the crystal lotus throne, the insects surprisingly no longer covered him. Unexpectedly, the insects that were surrounding him didn't rush over him. Under his feet, there were countless corpse-eating demonic insects, which were not the sort of silver demonic insects. However, these silver demonic insects seemed to be obedient, not dashing forward like earlier. The king of demonic insects was in front of him. Its two small, dark green eyes were watching him quietly. Shi Yang also gazed at it, which looked like he was silently exchanging something with the insect. Give me one more drop of your blood. Why? So that I can evolve. Why do I have to give you? With your blood in my body, I will make you my master. But, you have to give me your blood. This kind of blood can help me continue to evolve and enter a new life. How much do you need? Give me 1 drop every month. What can you do for me? Everything. Shi Yang looked at it silently with strange eyes, feeling the spirit coming from it. Previously, when the king of demonic insects appeared from the crystal lotus throne, it had emitted vehement spiritual fluctuations. Under this kind of a terrifying, surging spirit, he had almost lost his mind and nearly gotten crazy in a short time. Fortunately, the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame played its role again at this crucial time. It burned the spirit that jumped into his sea of consciousness into ashes, helping him avoid falling into the insanity like the other warriors. The king of demonic insects' appearance had frightened him. He had thought that he would be finished this time by getting bitten off. However, looking at the king of demonic insects, he sensed a very familiar smell from its body. That was the scent of his blood. At that moment, he suddenly realized that this king of demonic insects had unexpectedly absorbed the drop of immortal blood which had rolled into the crystal lotus throne. Immediately, the unexpected thing happened. The king of demonic insects roared insanely, and the demonic insects in the sky that were crazily attacking the warriors around all stopped instantly and gathered at his feet, not continuing to attack anymore. At that instant, he received a soul consciousness from the king of demonic insects. The level 8 insects already had wisdom and could use soul power. Although it would not open its mouth to talk, it could use its soul to communicate with others. This king of demonic insects was a rare beast. Is the life original fluid still in that crystal lotus throne? You also come from there. How is the relationship between you and that life original fluid? If you fulfill my demand, the life original fluid will be yours. Why do you have a strong desire for my blood? It's like humans want the life original fluid. Your blood also has an irresistible temptation. The blood in my body is not normal. I don't know how to condense it for the time being. Even if I promise you now, I can't guarantee anything. If you don't give me your blood, the agreement between you and me will be automatically null and void. Every half a year, you shall give me 5 drops of your blood, and I will give you 1 drop of the life original fluid. What do you think about this agreement? Let me think. On the crystal lotus throne, Shi Yang and the king of demonic insects looked at each other and exchanged their communication through their souls. Countless insects were flying around the crystal lotus throne, pursuing the other warriors. At this time, Shi Yang was in the center of the crystal lotus throne, safe and sound, coldly looking at the king of demonic insects while not being attacked by the insects. The other warriors just stared at the crystal lotus throne and exposed a visage of extreme shock. No one knew what was going on. They only knew that this brat dared to enter the crystal lotus throne that was filled with a lot of demonic insects to get the life original fluid, and was still safe and sound over there. Cai Yi, Zhao Feng, and Kai Xiao opened their eyes, blankly looking at that direction while still using their profound qi to resist the insect's attack. The demonic insects were getting more and more powerful, crazily attacking any warrior who dared to appear in the swamp. Some silver demonic insects also flew out from the crystal lotus throne, staring at Cai Yi, Zhao Feng, and Kai Xiao with murderous looks. Under the attack of the silver demonic insects, only Zhao Feng and Li Yu, who had the cultivation base of third sky of Sky Realm, could resist it. Kai Xiao and Cai Yi of the Divine Radiant cult, who were only at the first sky and second sky of Sky Realm, could barely resist it. Their defensive forces seemed to be completely eaten soon, and their body would be exposed. They didn't have a sturdy body like Shi Yang. So, once their bodies were exposed, they would definitely be dead. Kai Xiao and Cai Yi were scared, and thus slowly moved to the entrance, wanting to find a chance to get out. They did not dare to stay here any longer. Unfortunately, there existed a terrible barrier at the entrance. One first Sky of Sky Realm warrior, who was faster than Kai Xiao, dashed forward the entrance, but then a huge pressure oppressed him instantly. "Tell your fellows to stay away from them." Shi Yang suddenly spoke up and pointed to the group of Kai Xiao, Cai Yi, and the others of the Divine Radiant cult. "Okay," the king of demonic insects replied. "Ah," Cai Yi exclaimed pleasantly, unable to conceal the joy in her eyes. Also, she let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 423, Kill Them All. Chapter 423, Kill Them All. Shi Yang shouted, telling the king of demonic insects to stop other small insects from attacking Kai Xiao, Cai Yi, and other people of Divine Radiant cult. Kai Xiao and Cai Yi were almost unable to resist any longer. However, at the crucial time, the demon insects suddenly flew away, not continuing to attack them. Kai Xiao and Cai Yi let out a sigh of relief with a surprised face, looking at Shi Yang in the crystal lotus. In the swamp, as many other warriors saw that Kai Xiao and Cai Yi were no longer besieged by those insects thanks to Shi Yang's words, they were all stunned and revealed a jealous expression. That guy Shi Yang, how did he do it after all? Zhao Feng came to Cai Yi and Kai Xiao and asked suspiciously. Kai Xiao and Cai Yi shook their heads as they didn't know either. It was unexpected that the king of demonic insects listened to Shi Yang's orders, which surprised everyone. They didn't know what method he had used to make the king of demonic insects submit. While Kai Xiao and Zhao Feng were still in doubt, they quietly observed Shi Yang and realized that he was discussing something with the king of demonic insects in the crystal lotus throne. "Remove the barrier. I agree with your proposal." Shi Yang looked the king of demonic insects, contemplated for a while before making his mind up as he felt that this proposal didn't bring him any harm. "How about the others? Is killing them good for you?" "There's no harm. Their energy and blood can enhance the strength of our little fellows." If so, Shi Yang hesitated a little bit and kept looking at the chubby warrior and his team, then said with a faint smile, "Can you wait for a while? Ask your little fellow to leave first, and you'll go into the swamp. I need a reason to kill them." "What? Listen to me." The king of demonic insects didn't say anything. It didn't seem to understand him but still, followed his orders after getting his agreement on the proposal. The crystal lotus sank slowly. The demon insects that were hovering in the sky followed the command and plunged down from the sky, either going into the crystal lotus throne or drilling into the giant ancient tree. Afterward, no demonic insects were seen on the swamp. Shi Yang retrieved the sky-breaking shuttle, leaped up to the air and flew over to Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and Cai Yi after hesitating a little bit. "How did you do that?" Zhao Feng ogled and asked curiously. "That is a level 8 beast. It's much more powerful than us. I didn't expect that you could ask it to stop attacking us." Shi Yang, are you human after all? How can this beast listen to your orders?" Kai Xiao, Cai Yi, and Li Yu were also very curious. Its power was limited by the crystal lotus throne, and can't be utilized totally. It cannot show up in the swamp for a long time. I told it to give 1 drop of the life original fluid and that we will immediately leave this place. It agreed with that. Looking at the warriors around who were approaching, Shi Yang deliberately said out loud. Because of its intelligence, this beast knows what to choose. It knows that if it fights with us for a long time, it will bear a great loss, being severely hurt by the crystal lotus throne's power. That's why it gave up. After talking, he looked at the chunky warrior, laughed and said, "It said that there is only life original fluid in the swamp this time, not the god soul. It gave me a drop and said that we should leave this place as soon as possible." "It gave you a drop?" The chunky warrior's eyes lit up with shock. He burst into laughter. "Kid, your realm is still far away from the spirit realm. It's useless for you to keep that drop of life original fluid. Can you exchange it with me?" "Exchange it?" Shi Yang pretended to be surprised, caressed the blood vein ring and shook his head. "Although I have not entered the spirit realm yet, I'll enter it one day sooner or later. I can use this drop of life original fluid when I want to break through the spirit realm. No matter what you offer to exchange for it, the value is far from enough. The face of the chubby warrior darkened. He beamed a faint smile and stared at Shiyang. The warriors of Devil Valley quietly gathered around that chubby warrior, coldly looking at him with unfriendly eyes. Many warriors also had greed for the life original fluid like this chubby warrior. They wanted to take action to take it from Shiyang, not having any intent of leaving this place. Some other warriors' eyes flickered constantly. As they seemed to know this swamp was very unusual, they silently watched the changes, waiting to leave this place and then take action on the island. Kid, you are not qualified to have that life original fluid. Give it to me. The chubby warrior sneered coldly as his face darkened even more. Zhao Feng frowned and said, "Hey fatty, you talk too much. Shiyang is the one who got it. If you are brave enough, go find and kill those demon insects. Stop talking nonsense." The chunky warrior seemed to be impatient. He looked at the other third sky of Sky Realm warriors of other teams and said, "Everyone here also has the same thought as me, right? We should unite to deal with this brat first and then discuss the plan together. I feel that this kid isn't telling the truth. Perhaps he has more than one drop of the life original fluid from the king of demonic insects. Hand it. Take it out. Tell us the truth, and we will not hurt you. You cannot get away if you don't give it to us." In the swamp, all the Sky Realm warriors looked at Shiyang coldly and with a ruthless manner. Shiyang still looked calm. He smiled and shook his head. "No. Do you want to die?" The chunky warrior coldly shouted. "So, all of you want the life original fluid? If I don't hand it out, won't you take action to kill me and take it?" Shiyang looked at everyone and said slowly, "Of course." Shiyang smiled, nodded and said, "Nothing else I can do then." Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and the others on his team were a little bit surprised, before quietly coming close to him, ready to intervene. Shiyang didn't say anything further, secretly guarding against Zhao Feng and the others as well. He knew how precious this life original fluid was and was not sure if Zhao Feng and others also had greed for it. He was now testing the crowd. Be careful. With so many warriors together like this, we have to put forth all of our strength to be able to resist them. Zhao Feng said with a lower voice and a solemn face. Kid, if you have any tricks or means, you have to use them immediately. Don't hesitate any second. When those warriors unite, they are much stronger than us. There seemed to be a struggle in Li Yu's heart. She stood there with a blank face for a long while before taking a deep breath and then said with a strange look, "Shiyang, can you deal with those third sky of Sky Realm warriors after all?" "One," Shiyang said with a wry smile. "Forget it. Let's fight." Li Yu shook her head gently. "I will take the risk with you this time, but everyone should be well prepared for the worst." "You guys really want to help me?" Shiyang was stunned and shocked. "The life original fluid is precious and is in my hands. I will not give it to you. So why do you need to help me? As long as you don't block my way, I already appreciate it. You guys don't need to help me." He still guarded against Zhao Feng and the people of the Divine Radiant cult, as he always felt that they were not reliable. In his eyes, he and Zhong Feng were not very close, so Zhong Feng didn't need to offend everyone just because of him. He was even worried that Zhong Feng and the chubby warrior would unite to snatch the life original fluid from him. "You are also one of the Divine Radiant cult, and you will be the future seed of the God's sect. We can be considered to be ready to go through thick and thin along the way. If we kill you just because of the life original fluid, we are really cheap." Zhong Feng stared at him and snarled, "What kind of person do you think this Zhong Feng is? Frankly, I have hesitated earlier. But now, I have figured it out." Li Yu said embarrassedly, "How about you?" Shiyang looked at Cai Yi. "We have gone through so many troubles together, and you are also the one who has saved us many times." Cai Yi smiled, pointed to the two brothers and Yi Zhong Feng, who were still frozen. "Although you look emotionless, you have your own principles. Without your help, it is unknown how many times these people would have died already." Pausing for a while, Cai Yi then smiled. I really can't figure it out. I cannot think of any reason not to stand on your side. Shi Yang nodded. It was not a waste to ask the king of demonic insects to let go of you. The only person that he didn't ask was Kai Xiao, as he was confident that Kai Xiao would obviously be on his side. Such a touching friendship. Geez. The chubby warrior laughed coldly, clapping his hands. His eyes displayed a trace of disdain. We shouldn't continue to hesitate. Although this group of divine radiant cult is powerful, it's not difficult to take them down if we join forces, isn't it? Everyone nodded. Shi Yang suddenly revealed a comfortable and calm smile. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at the fact that you want to die. The demonic insects that had disappeared earlier suddenly appeared again from the swamp. The king of demonic insects in the crystal lotus throne, which had sunk in the swamp, also emerged from the water. Its small green eyes looked at Shi Yang, seeming to be waiting for something. From 100 meters far away, Shi Yang nodded with it and said, "Kill them all." Countless demonic insects suddenly got crazy, overwhelmingly dashing forward and shrouding all of the warriors in the swamp once again. Only Zhao Feng, Kai Xiao, and the others from their team were safe. I told you that I was sure you would die before me, and you didn't believe it. Believe it now? Shi Yang grinned and mockingly looked at the chubby warrior, who was surrounded by 10 silver demonic insects. A look of horror flashed across his face. He didn't even have time to say anything. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.